candidates selected for IAS in 2016 were from Delhi? What could be the reasons for this? Delhi gives you access to the most renowned teachers of the country, gives you exposure to quality content and rigorous assessment, and most importantly, provides an opportunity for interactive learning. Does that mean shifting to Delhi is the only option to succeed in the IAS exams? What about those who have a full-time job and cannot quit it for preparation? Or those who are studying and cannot miss their college? Or the ones who cannot make it to a new city due to a number of reasons? Vision IAS, one of India's top IAS coaching institute, has brought an end to this dilemma. The live classroom program from Vision IAS now brings Delhi to your doorstep on the click of a mouse. Our live online classroom lets you access all the lectures from your computer or smartphone. Yes, all in real time. You can interact with the teacher to get your doubts resolved, be a part of daily assessments, and also get access to all the study material. As good as being in the classroom, right? If you are busy during the day with your college or work, you can also access these lectures later as per your convenience. Our platform also enables you to interact with your peers for learning and discussions. With the best teachers, high quality streaming, and instant support, Vision IAS is the smartest way to achieve your IAS dream. Reach out now to know more.
Are you worried about current affairs? No need to get worried now. Vision IAS is back with the most popular and reliable course on current affairs for GS Prelims, PT 365. Get the most comprehensive and exam-oriented coverage of last 1 year current affairs selected by our team of experts. Highlights of the course are classroom session for 60 hours, specific targeted content oriented towards prelims exam, complete coverage of the Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, Live Mint, TOI, Economic Times, Yojana, Economic Survey, Budget, India Yearbook, RSTV, etc. from May 2017 to April 2018. Section-wise booklets of 1 year's current affairs from prelims perspective, extra classes to cover rest of the current affairs of May 2017 to April 2018. Live and online recorded classes that will help distance learning students and who prefer flexibility in class timing. Apart from Hindi and English medium, the course is also available in online and classroom mode. Classes commence from 21st March for English medium and 5th April for Hindi medium. Join PT 365 to get the advantage of our expertise on current affairs and bolster your chance at cracking prelims 2018.
Everyone is settled? Shall we start? So good evening to all of you. This is the last day of the sessions, right? I hope all of you have benefited from these sessions, right? Okay, so we are ending with the ancient medieval art and culture. How about this subject? The best? Okay. Sorry? Input-output ratio is less. So what all sources do you read then? NCRTs. So you feel that NCRTs doesn't cater to the questions which UPSC is asking. Precisely yes and no both. When we say culture, yes, there are definite sources. When we say medieval, yes, there are definite sources. Only one or two questions which are extremely difficult, those you shouldn't focus too much, right? And yes, again, this section is a section which have more questions to leave, right? Because of its vast syllabus, and secondly, of its very random topics being asked by UPSC, right? For example, when we say Buddhism, Jainism, we all know that questions come from that topic. So why don't we do that, right? So basically, there are certain topics which you need to focus, right? And if you focus on those topics, on the lines which we'll discuss today, I think you will be able to manage and sail through the AMC section all over, right? Okay. Precisely the last 10 years, there have been 80 to 83 questions, right? And if we include modern Indian history, then that means around 175 questions. So on an average, 17 questions per year from this whole section, right? Which is a lot. Which is quite a lot, right? And even 8 questions from this section is a lot. In 2014, UPSC had asked around 14 questions from ancient, medieval and culture, right? So please don't ignore this section, yes, but there are definite topics which you can focus. Let's start. We'll start with the religious philosophy. So starting with this topic, what do you think this topic includes? Buddhism, Jainism, what are the philosophies? What are the 6 schools of Indian philosophy? Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, Vaisheshika, Nyaya, right? Sankhya, Kapila, Yoga, Mimamsa, Jaimini, Vaisheshika, Nyaya, and we end with Vedanta, right? So this is the distribution of the schools which are based on Indian philosophy and the schools which do not believe in the authority of Vedas, right? Right? Okay, let's start. Buddhism, Jainism, in the last 10 years there have been 11 questions. That means there will be a question every year on Buddhism, Jainism, right? Let's start with the question. With reference to the religious history of India, consider the following statements. So what all sources do you read for this section, religious philosophy? NCRT, is it sufficient? Considering the fact that the questions which UPSC is asking these days, I don't think so NCRT is sufficient for this section. There is another book which you can refer. Its name is Wonder That Was India by A.L. Bhasham. Its chapter is Religion and Philosophy, right? So this particular section, Buddhism, Jainism and few schools of philosophy, if not clear, you can do it from this textbook. But the point is, this is free downloadable. So you need not buy this book, and you need not also do this book cover to cover. Only few sections which I'll tell you, which are being asked by UPSC using this book, is what you need to cover, right? Okay. So let's come to the question which was asked in 2017. With reference to the religious history of India, consider the following statements. Sautrantika and Samitya were the sects of Jainism. Second, Sarvastivadin held that the constituents of phenomena were not wholly momentary but existing forever in the latent form. Now, this particular question has been directly lifted from this book. Directly lifted, right? Verbatimly the lines were picked up, right? So Sautrantika and Samitya were not the sects of Jainism, but they are the sects of Buddhism. So one is incorrect. Yes, Sarvastivadin, Sautrantika, Samitya were sects of Buddhism, and Sarvastivadin held that the constituents of phenomenon were not wholly momentary but existed forever in a latent form. Now I too agree with the fact that you will be taking time to understand the philosophy, right? And to be very honest and be practical in an approach, the ones who don't have philosophy as their optional, they need not go too much into depth, right? Only the basic philosophy, what it says, is what you need to cover. Every philosophy, by and large, talks about two kinds of relationship. One is with God or Brahma, and the other one is the world or samsara, right? Some also talk about consciousness and soul, right? So these are 2-3 basic things is what you need to see in every philosophy, right? And need not go beyond that, right? Otherwise you will get confused. Second, first we'll have a look at the questions and then we'll go to the explanation. The painting of Bodhisattva Padmapani is one of the most famous and oft illustrated paintings at Ajanta. This was a pretty easy question, again directly lifted from your NCERT, which is Introduction to Indian Art, Part 1, Class 11. You can also see the picture from where they have framed the question, right? So when you are revising your Introduction to Indian Art, Part 1 for your culture, you have to go through all the pictures which are given, right? You can also Google, again, based upon whenever the questions would come of temples or architecture, I'll tell you how to cover them, right? Okay. Third question, with reference to the religious history of India, consider the following statements. The concept of Bodhisattva is central to Hinayan sect of Buddhism. Second, Bodhisattva is a compassionate one on his way to enlightenment. Third, Bodhisattva delays achieving his own salvation to help all sentient beings on their path to it. Right? Okay. Shall I wrap this? There are two things, again, with respect to Buddhism, Jainism, on which questions always are asked. One is your nirvana or enlightenment. Second is your rejection or belief in God or soul or Vedas. These are the two primary things from which questions come, right? When we say nirvana or enlightenment, in Buddhism, there are how many sects? 3, Mahayana, Hinayan and Vajrayana. Hinayan is a lesser vehicle which believes in worship of symbols, right, of Buddha, right? Mahayana is a religion which believes in worshipping of Buddha in human form or idol form. And Vajrayana Buddhism is a Buddhism which believes in mysticism or magical powers, right? So the question is on the concept of Bodhisattva, right? This question is coming from the concept behind enlightenment. In Buddhism, Hinayan there is a concept called arhant, which is also known as the worthy or perfect being who's capable of achieving enlightenment, right? The difference between Hinayan and Mahayana concept of nirvana is that in Hinayan, the arhant is a selfish man. He would attain salvation, but he would not transmit, right, or not transfer salvation or way of salvation to others, right? And through this, he would achieve salvation. Whereas in Mahayana, salvation is achieved through bodhisattvas, right? And in this Mahayana philosophy, there is a central principle or a concept called transference of merit, right? That means nirvana or enlightenment is being transferred to other people through bodhisattvas, right? You got the meaning, right? Okay. So this question was about nirvana, and the first statement says the concept of bodhisattva is central to Hinayan sect, which is wrong because it is a central subject of Mahayana. Second, bodhisattva is a compassionate one on his way to enlightenment, which is true. Third, bodhisattva delays achieving his own salvation to help all sentient beings on their path to it, which is also true, right? So the answer is 2 and 3. Which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of Buddha? So this question was consecutively repeated in 2014 and 15, and this question is talking about the places which are associated with Buddha's life or Buddha's life. When we say Buddha's life, it is starting from his birth to his death, right? This question is not dealing with where did he teach. This question is on life of Buddha, right? Life starts with the birth and ends with the death, right? And this question's primary source is a scheme which was launched by Government of India in 2014, right? Its name is Swadesh Darshan scheme. In that scheme, there are now 2 or 3 more circuits being added, and the circuits numbers are now 15. Buddhist circuit is one of them, right? And again, as I said, and I have told you earlier, that in your lifetime you should go and visit websites, right? And the only thing which can save you from such questions is your habit of seeing the websites or the schemes through the direct channel, right? Okay. So, Avanti is in Madhya Pradesh, Gandhar, Pakistan, right? Kaushal is where? Bihar, Magad, right? Buddha was born where? Lumbini, Nepal, right? Where did he give his first sermon? Sarnath, which is in Varanasi. Where did he went for Dhan Chakra Parivartan? Which is Kushinagar is the death. Let's come to the scheme. So when I say how you need to go to the website and search for schemes, Swadesh Darshan, you go to this website, and then you have to make a note of certain things, that what does it aim to, right? So it aims to build tourist circuits. Now, how do you define a tourist circuit, right? This question should come to your mind, that what is a tourist circuit? Let's go and just see what is its main objective. So the scheme's objective is to position tourism as a major engine of economic growth and job creation. So if the scheme is being asked in a very scheme-like question, like the scheme's primary objective is, or what does it cater to? So it does not only cater to the cultural aspects of tourism, but also the economic aspect of tourism in terms of job employment, right? Okay, so when I was saying definition of tourist circuit, in this scheme, tourist circuit is a circuit where at least there are 3 major tourist destinations in a region or a state or a district. 3 major at least, right? It should have a well-defined exit and entry points. What do you mean by that? That means that place should have entry and exit points for the ease and convenience of the tourists, right? So that no stampede, or there should be a proper way of going and coming out of the tourist spot, right? So these are the two major conditions under which tourist circuit is designed. Now come to this. Yes, there are two schemes which have been launched in the same year. The question has already been asked from Swadesh Darshan scheme. It's not as if question has not been asked from Prasad scheme. As you must have noticed, I don't know whether in geography you have done those questions where the places were given, pilgrimage sites, and then map or river or plateau or something like that was asked, right? So now what is the source? How to do that? Now UPSC is asking those pilgrimage sites which have already been covered in some Mordi scheme, right? And as we know that Prasad scheme focuses on pilgrimage sites, so whatever pilgrimage sites are there, right, at least see them in the map, right? I'll show you certain questions. There has been a question on Omkareshwar being asked in one of the sun temples, right? So that is how you would prepare such questions. We cannot say that they are geography questions. We also cannot say in a certain way that they are culture questions. But yes, there are being questions asked from this section in the way that it looks like it is a geography question, but they have been necessarily picked up from the scheme portion, right? Okay. So when you go to the Buddhist circuit, you get a box like this, right? And this is the box from where the question has been made. 7 places of Buddha's life. Birthplace, which is Lumbini, Kapilvastu, UP, Bodh Gaya, Bihar, Sarnath, UP, Rajgir, Shravasti, Vaishali, Kushinagar, right? So all these places are centered around, at least in India, UP and Bihar, no other state, right? Right? So that is why the question's answer was 3 and 4, Magad and Kaushal, and the option was C, right? Okay, let's come to the 5th question. Which one of the following describes best the concept of nirvana or enlightenment in Buddhism? As I said, there have been 2 favorite topics of UPSC being asking from this particular section. One is nirvana and the other one is rejection, belief in God, soul or Vedas, right? So what is nirvana in Buddhism means? Is it, which is the option which is bothering you the most? State of bliss and rest, and A, extinction of the flame of desire, right? Now, how to reach the most appropriate answer? Because A and C both are related. Why? Because when you attain nirvana, you attain this condition, a state of bliss and rest. But the question is, describes best the concept of nirvana. Why do you go for nirvana? Or how do you go for nirvana? What is the central philosophy of Buddhism? That there are too many sorrows, there are too many desires, right? And the moment you end those desires or quench your thirst of killing those desires, you attain nirvana. That is, that you have to extinct the flame of desire which is burning inside you, right? So the most appropriate answer is A. No, the UPSC official answer key is A. Okay? Come to question number 6. With reference to the history of ancient India, which of the following was or were common to both Buddhism and Jainism? Now this is a comparison based question. Now when we say Buddhism and Jainism, yes, there are different ways of attaining nirvana and seeing at things, right? So the first statement says avoidance of extremities of penance and enjoyment. What is the basic philosophy of Buddhism? Middle path, right? So does it say that we have to avoid the extremities of penance and enjoyment? Or is it the case with Jainism more? Which calls for starvation, which calls for torture, which calls for extreme non-ahimsa, right? Extreme non-ahimsa, not even killing an ant, right? So this is the basic philosophy of Jainism. And again, the moment you eliminate one, you arrive at the answer, right? So second is true. Indifference to the authority of Vedas, both believed in them, right? Denial of efficacy of rituals. Actually, these two religions came against the Brahminical domination, right? And Brahminical rituals. So the answer is B. Come to seventh question. Now this is one question, again should not bother you, and you end up doing and revising all the mudras. You will not be able to remember them. Trust me, you will not be. Right? Again, it's your call. Either leave such questions or don't focus or run behind them. I have given you content after which I'll show the slide that there are certain mudras which you can learn, but if you ask me, they are the questions which you should not bother too much upon. Right? Now, again, if you are able to learn some mudras, how would you learn them? If the name of the mudra is there or being linked in the option. Now the mudra's name is Bhumi Sparsh Mudra, right? Now just read the question and tell me which is the best option suited after reading the Bhumi Sparsh Mudra. So you're confused between A and B? I again told you while we were doing modern Indian history that whenever you see similar kind of options, these are two similar kind of options, calling the earth, right? And very, very close, right? So you will automatically eliminate C and D. Now it's your luck, whether it is A or B, right? If you were in exam condition. Okay? But these are again certain things which we have noticed while analyzing UPSC papers, that yes, there are definitely some pattern of framing options by UPSC. If you find out any two similar options, the answer has to be between them, right? Okay, so the Bhumi Sparsh Mudra symbolizes what? A or B? So the answer is B. Now, this is one thing which you can just go through after the class. You can download the slides and do it. It's too factual. You can, again, it's up to you if you want to do such things, right? But yes, Bhumi Sparsh Mudra, why it is important and has been asked by UPSC? Because this mudra has been used in many of the caves and Buddhist temples, right? So that is why it has special importance. Okay? It doesn't say, yes. That's what I'm saying, that they are two difficult questions. You just cannot focus them. Okay? Question number 8. Why did Buddhism start declining in India in the early medieval times? Okay. Why did Buddhism rise? Buddhism, Jainism? Because of the rise of market? Because of what else? What else? What is the economic reason behind it?
Because the rituals are very expensive.
Okay, second, yes. To the Buddhists. So rise of money economy, right? What else? Or urban economy. What else? NCERT में it is clearly given factors behind rise of Buddhism, Jainism. So the question is, why did Buddhism start declining in India in the early medieval times, right? First, Buddha was by that time considered as one of the incarnations of Vishnu and thus became a part of Vaishnavism, which is correct. Why? Because after Mahayana started to develop, even Buddhism got how do I put it, perverted the way Hinduism was in the eyes of common people, right? So they started losing the interest in Buddhism. So one is correct. Second, the invading tribes from Central Asia till the time of last Gupta king adopted Hinduism and persecuted Buddhists. Is it true? Definitely, there were invasions and persecution of Buddhists, but not by the Central Asian tribes. Rather, they accepted Buddhism, and even till the last of Gupta ruler, Kumar Gupta and others, they had favorably favored the Buddhist cult, right? So second is incorrect. Third, the kings of Gupta dynasty were strongly opposed to Buddhism. Again, third is incorrect. So the only answer is A. So what were the reasons for the decline in Buddhism? One was decline of royal patronage, right? Second, Brahmanical revival under Guptas, but it does not mean that Gupta kings only patronized Buddhism, right? Or Hinduism. Then Brahmanical revival under Shankaracharya. There were other cults also growing, right? In the form of philosophies like Dvait, Advait, Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbakacharya, which again started gaining more strength and followers than Buddhism, right? Assimilation with Buddhism, yes, which was the first statement being asked by UPSC. Foreign invasions and attack by foreigners. Socio-economic cause. What was the reason behind the socio-economic cause? Land. Land means more intermediaries. More intermediaries means feudalism. Feudalism means more hierarchy, right? So they need more number of people, and caste atrocities and caste divisions would increase, right? And which was not again was given by Buddhism. That is why they again returned to the fold of Hinduism, right? Fifth point. Socio-economic cause was that land was undergoing transformation. Foreign invasions and attack by foreigners by kings like Shungas. Pushyamitra Shung persecuted Buddhists, right? And there were other Kushanas also. Not Kushanas, Kushana king patronized Buddhism. The only thing was that because UPSC had asked a statement like Huna kings or Central Asian tribes, although invaded India, but they did not attack Buddhism, right? It was basically by Turks or the Afghans when they were coming, because the question was on medieval times, that they did not accept Buddhism, right? Yes. Yes. Okay. So to negate that Buddhism did not decline in Gupta period, there are certain arguments like Kumar Gupta and Buddhgupta built monasteries at Nalanda, and then Nalanda flourished during the Gupta period, which again testifies the fact that Buddhist increase or Buddhism did not decline in Gupta period that much, right? And there were monks like Kumarji and Paramarth who were sent by Gupta kings on royal missions, right? To places like China, Southeast Asia, right? Okay. Now come to Buddhism. Now this section, why it is important? Because there has been questions more on Buddhism than Jainism, right? By UPSC. There have been 8 questions on Buddhism and 3 questions on Jainism in the last 10 years, right? Okay, so when we do Buddhism, there are 4 things which are very, very important. One is Buddhist Council. How many Buddhist councils have been conducted in Buddhism? 4, right? Okay, so first Buddhist council, Rajkriya Satapani Caves. Now Satapani Caves, if it is asked by UPSC, at least you should have idea that they are dedicated or they are influenced towards Buddhism. Okay? Okay, these are factual information which you can do, but the point is, there are certain things which you should not forget. One is the second point, that Vinay Pitak, and the third point, Sutta Pitak, were recited or are there in the first Buddhist council. There are 3 Pitaks, Sutta, Vinay and Abhidham. Okay. Second Buddhist council, Vishali, after 100 years of Buddha's death, right? Now the second point is very, very important. Here the Buddhism broke into 2 sects. One was Sthaviravadins and other was Mahasangikas. Later on, Sthaviravadins and Mahasangikas became Hinayan and Mahayana. Right? Sthaviravadins were those who believed in the teachings of the elders. Elders means the early practitioners of Buddhism, those who are more affiliated with the early form of Buddha. And the Mahasangikas were the members of the great community, which was Mahayana in the 4th Buddhist council. right? In the second Buddhist council, Sthaviravadins and Mahasangikas. In the fourth Buddhist council, Buddhism got divided into finally two sects, Mahayana and Hinayan, right? Third Buddhist council at Patliputra. Now Ashoka, because it was held under the patronage of Ashoka, again this is very, very important. And in the third Buddhist council, Abhidhamma Pitaka was added, or the last section to Abhidhamma Pitaka was added, right, which was known as Kathavatu, right? Although these questions have not been asked by UPSC, but you never know, because Buddhism is important. At least what you can do is 3 Pitaks kaun se hai, or any text which has been added, because Buddhist literature, Jain literature are again certain probable questions which UPSC can ask. Fourth Buddhist council, very much famous only because it got divided into two sects, Mahayana and Hinayan, and it happened in Kashmir under Kanishka. Now if they give you Mahavibhas, right, so you should know that it is a Buddhist text. You should not get confused that it is a Jain text, right? 3 sects of Buddhism we've already done, Hinayan, Mahayana, Vajrayana, the basic philosophies, right? That Hinayan believes in the early worship of Buddha in a symbol form, right? Mahayana in its idol or human form, and Vajrayana in believing in the magical powers, right? Okay. Which is very, very important again is, as we had discussed again, the concept of Nirvana. So Nirvana in your Hinayan is when the person escapes the suffering of the world and realizes his or her oneness with the universe. As I said, it means blowing out or quenching your thirst of desire, right? The final goal is when the quenching of all desires is complete and the person is transformed into another state, that is Arhant, which is the worthy or a person who attains Nirvana. So Ashoka patronized Hinayan. Again, you should not have any confusion in your mind that he patronized Mahayana. So you should not come into that trap. He patronized Hinayan. What was the language of the masses of Hinayan? Pali, right? Mahayana ki kya hogi? Sanskrit, right? Kanishka, probably Mahayana, right? Because it happened in the 1st century after, in the Christian era, right? Okay. Hinayan texts, again, 3 Pitaka are very, very important. Vinay Pitak, which contains the monastic rules of the order. Order is here Sangha, right? Second, Sutta Pitak, which is a collection of dialogues, teachings and sermons of Buddha, and it is the largest, right? It is again divided into 5 chapters or 5 groups, which are Nikaya, right? Dig Nikaya, Angutar Nikaya, ये सब आप देख लेना factual information. Okay. Now, this has been asked by UPSC, or you are well known about Jatakas. At least you should know that Jatakas form part of Sutta Pitak. ठीक है? Abhidhamma Pitak deals with ethics, psychology, right? Then there are semi-canonical works. They were canonical. Canonical means the ones which are laying down rules or order or discipline. Semi-canonical, which are saying or giving you certain kind of moral stories or discipline or path to righteousness, but then they are more secular in nature, right? So Milind Panno was another work of Hinayan literature. It was a dialogue between King Menander and Buddhist monk Nagsen, right? Then there are chronicles, again in the form of text, which forms part of Hinayan text, Deepavamsa, Mahavamsa, Kulavamsa. So again, the UPSC can ask you a question like Deepavamsa and Mahavamsa are related to, right? Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, Jivikas. So the answer would be Buddhism. And if they are breaking and making question difficult, they can give you in one line Deepavamsa and Mahavamsa forms part of Hinayan sect. Again, you should know and have an idea that they form part of Hinayan literature, right? Not sect, text. Okay. Island Chronicles are what? Stories of history. or victories of king, right? So probably if certain Buddhist monk or king has gone to certain island and has won something, so you again need not go into the details of what is Deepvamsa, Mahayamsa too much. At least itna hi idea hona chahiye that they are Hinian text, right? Okay. Then there are other sects of Hinian. This question has been already asked by UPSC this year, last year, 2017. Sthaviravad or Theravada are the most fundamental Hinian which you learn always, right? Sarvastivadins are those who differ from Sthaviravad in the form that they say that the phenomena or the dhammas were not wholly momentary but existed forever in a latent form. What do you understand by momentary? For a short while, right? So what does Sarvastivadin says that dharma or conduct or rules are not for a time period, right? For few time, it is existing all throughout, right? Third, Swatantrika, it is more of a philosophy or a cult or whatever you want to say, which indulges more on inference or knowledge. That means you are inferring something. That means the school is more rational, right? Based on logic. Okay? Samityas, they reject the doctrine of soullessness. That means they believe somewhere that there is a soul, right? Although Buddhism rejects the concept of, does it reject, does it accept? Doesn't accept, doesn't reject. But again, you can take an inference that somewhat it rejects the doctrine of soullessness. That means it accepts in a limited form that there exists soul in the form of a person which is passed from life to life. What is life to life here? Transmigration of soul. But transmigration of soul in Buddhism is not to be learnt the way you learn it from Hinduism. Here it means in a different form, right? Right? That means soul, person dies. Hinduism believes what? Soul does not die, right? The person dies. It believes in a somewhat different way that soul exists and it dies with the person, right? And again, the person takes birth, right? Okay. Then there are 4 noble truths which are again part of Buddhist philosophy, very, very important, that there is a suffering called dukh. Then there is a reason for a suffering. Cessation of a suffering means nirodh, and path to end that suffering is marg, right? And what is that marg or path? That is noble eightfold path, right? Which is right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Now in Jainism, what is the 3 ratnas? Right knowledge, right faith, right action, right knowledge. Right action is there, right? Right faith is there, anywhere? Right action is there? Right action is there. Right knowledge is there? No? In the literal sense, it is not coming in your Buddhism. ठीक है? इसलिए again, अगर वो करेंगे तो they will probably swap the options. Okay. So when we say right understanding or right view, right thought or right intention, are you all understanding that it will become part of wisdom? Wisdom is what? Knowledge coming from your brain or inference, right? So when you have right understanding and when your thoughts are in right direction, you will have right understanding or right wisdom, right? When we say there has to be a proper speech, one should not use foul language or foul words. When we say there has to be a right action, right karma against others. When we say that there has to be proper means to earn livelihood, it forms part of your ethical conduct, right? When we say mental discipline, it is all about controlling inner self. How would you control your inner self? Concentration, mindfulness, and your efforts, karma, right? So Buddhism does not believe in God and soul, right? Clearly. It only says that life is transient and changing, and where change prevails, something like a permanent soul will have no meaning. So it only says that life is transient and changing. So it cannot have a permanent soul, right? Then Buddhism focuses on moral progress independent of God. It has been said that it believes or accepts the theory of transmigration, but Buddhists refute to accept transmigration as understood in transmigration of soul. What they believe is rebirth, as I said, that the person would be born again, but probably not with the same soul. Right? Right? Mahayana Buddhism. As I said again, the central concept is Bodhisattva. The way in Heenyan it was Arhant, here it was Bodhisattva who leads the path to Nirvana or enlightenment. Right? Okay. So idea of transference of merit is special in Mahayana, and who is transferring this merit of attaining Nirvana or enlightenment? Bodhisattvas. Right? Okay. There are certain names given for Bodhisattva. Why Padmapani has been asked? Because it is one of the most important Bodhisattva. He is also known as Avalokiteshwar. Right? Vajrapani is a more sterner and it believes for sin and evil. Maitreya is also one of the very important Bodhisattva who is a future Bodhisattva. Right? Who will be worshipped as Bodhisattva. Then there are again two schools in Mahayana Buddhism. One is Madhyamika and the other one is Yogacharya. Now, why am I including this in this session? Because this information has been asked, or shall I say there has been a question where it takes your knowledge to eliminate Nagarjuna. Right? There has been a question, I'll show you again. Right? There was a question where it was asked that who among the following are not Bhakti saints, right? And few names were given. So the only name which was not a Bhakti saint was Nagarjuna, right? So that is why, again, because Buddhism, Jainism are, UPSC is asking tough questions, so you should at least have some idea about what are the inner philosophy and sects under them, right? So Madhyamika school is also known as Shunyata. It was propounded by Nagarjuna. It believes in Shunya, that means zero. Zero does not mean here zero, it means emptiness or void. Void in our body or emptiness in the body. That means it does not, it says that nothing exists, nor does it say that there is a self-existence or permanence. Right? Again, you need not go too much into depth, just understand that it is again a philosophy under Mahayana Buddhism, right? Shunyata represents voidness or emptiness. That means nothing exists, and everything which exists and is permanent is rejected, right? So nothing exists, and there is no difference between universe and nirvana, right? The basic text is Madhyamika Kanika. Again, texts, literature is focused now by UPSC, right? Yogachar or Vigyanvadan school, it is propounded by Asanga and Vasubandha. So, Yogachar and Vigyanvadan, by its very name, what do you infer? That it would be based on knowledge, right? Vigyanvadan and Yogachar will be based on knowledge, consciousness, idealism. It believes that world is built up of consciousness and had no reality than the dream. The only reality is suchness or tathat, or it is also known as dharm dhatu. Suchness is when you would use this word such. Such as, when do you use? when you want to again prove something, right? Give evidence for, right? And how would you give evidence or prove something when it is based on your understanding and knowledge, right? Itna hi bas yaad rakho. It believes in emptiness or voidness. It believes in knowledge and consciousness, right? Its basic text is Sutra Lankar, right? Now come to Mahayana texts. The most important is the first one. It's given in your CCRT also. Asta Sahasrika Prajna Paramita, right? These are certain lines of wisdom or perfection, and they are also seen in manuscripts in whose reign? Pala king, right? So these are certain lines or mantras written in a wooden box or there in the wooden box in the form of manuscript. It is the most important text, right? Because it lays down words of wisdom, right? Okay. The major 4 events of Buddhism are Great Renunciation, when Buddha leaves the house on a horse, right? Enlightenment, what is the symbol? Bodhi tree. Dhamma Chakra Parivartan, first sermon, right? Wheel. Mahaparinirvan, stupa, right? Come to Jainism. There have been 3 questions so far, and mostly in the nature of concept and fundamental knowledge, right? In 2009, there has been a question. Anekantvad is a core theory and philosophy of which one of the following? So they have just not dealt with what is Anekantvad. They have just only asked that whom does it relates to which of the following, right? So it's part of Jainism. Second, the Jain philosophy holds that the world is created and maintained by universal truth, right? Universal truth. We'll be doing the core philosophy and then you'd be getting the meaning. Which of the following statements are applicable to Jain doctrine? The surest way of annihilating karma is to practice penance. Yes. So one has to be there. Every object, even the smallest particle, has a soul, which is correct, right? Third, karma is the bane of the soul and must be ended, which is also true, right? Right action. So 1, 2 and 3 is the answer. Not exactly karma, but kind of. Karma is what? Calm. So what is karma? Right action. When you do right acts. Okay? Jaise right now your right action would be studying and not going for a movie. Right? Okay. Jainism. It is again of ancient origin like Buddhism, and it has 24 Tirthankas. The first is Rishabdev, and the 23rd is Parasnath, and the last one is Mahavira, right? Mahavir. Kaivalya is analogous to Nirvana in Buddhism, right? So how do you achieve Kaivalya in Jainism? The one who conquers misery and happiness. That means who becomes immune of the materialistic world, right? He does not care whether he's having pain. He does not care if he's enjoying, right? Who renunciates everything, every material basic fact of from his life, right? Okay, so Jainism, does it believe in the existence of God? Yes, it does, but it places it lower than Jina. And who's Jina? The conqueror, the one who conquers the world. Okay, again, it has been divided into 2 sects. One is Digambar and Shwetambar. How did that sect or schism happen? Because of famine in North India. So the one who went to South India under Bhadrabahu were called Digambaras, and the one who stayed in Magad were Shwetambars under Sulbahu, right? Okay. Jain councils, there have been 2, right? ये factual है, आप देख लेना. Yes, this is important. 3 ratnas of Jainism: right faith, right knowledge, and right action. And for right action and conduct, one has to take 5 vows or kasam, right? That one should be practicing or believing in non-violence. One who would always speak truth, satya. The one who does not steal, asteya. The one who would not acquire property, parigraha. Now these words are important. They can again ask you that what does it relate to, right? Or they relate to which philosophy. Brahmacharya, it was added by Mahavira. It was earlier not there in the Jain philosophy. Now, teachings of Jainism. They rejected the authority of Veda, right? And they believe in the doctrine of asceticism and renunciation. What is asceticism? Leaving all material world, right? Or material things. Jainism or Mahavira precisely did not condemn Varna system the way Buddhism did, right? So this is very important, and understand them the way it is written in your NCERT. That Jainism did not condemn the Varna system the way Buddhism did. So Buddhism condemned Varna system more, right? But we cannot say that Jainism did not condemn. It condemned, right? Okay. Then universal truth or Kevalya Gyan is what UPSC had already asked, right? So Jain doctrine is established on undying universal truth, right? And that is absolute knowledge. The highest form of knowledge is universal truth. To get a status of a Jina, attaining Keval Gyan is required first, right? Jain literature is known by Agamas, right? Anekantvad, again, UPSC had already asked a question. So what do you understand by Anekantvad? It means that reality can be seen from different perspectives, right? If I say that it is a duster, yes, it is a duster. If I say that it is a weapon to hit you, yes, it is a weapon to hit you, right? So from multiple perspectives, you can see one object or reality. Okay? Okay, so our Buddhism and Jainism is done. Let's come to classical dances of India. There have been 5 questions in the last 10 years, right? Again, classical dances by its very nature, they are both fundamental and factual questions, is what UPSC had already asked. Now, before doing classical dances, there has to be a framework in which you need to cover them, right? And this is purely done on the basis of what UPSC has already asked. And I don't think so they would go beyond this. First thing which you should understand is, from where do you get the sources from classical dances or dances? Huh? No. What is the textual reference of classical dances in India? Any textbook? Natya Shastras, right? It is the basic textbook for music, dance and drama, right? So first thing which you should always look upon, whether it is Bharatnatyam, Kuchipudi, Odissi, Mohiniyattam, if you find any textual reference, right? Otherwise, for most of the for all the classical dances, you get the reference in Natya Shastra. There is another very prominent source, which is Nandikeshwar's Abhinay Darpan, right? Where again you get more influences of other classical dances, right? The other thing is that, is it a temple dance or a court dance? Whether you see again evidences in the form of sculptures in temples of any dance, or whether if a dance was patronized by any king or a ruler. The other thing which you should always look for is that there is again an element in dance, that is Tandav or Lasya. Tandav or Lasya means that Tandav represents masculine and more ferocious character, right? anger, masculinity. Lasya is more feminine, right? Next, whether it is a female or a male dance, whether it is a solo or a group dance, right? Then whether it has Vachika Binay or no lip movement. This has been already asked by UPSC. Vachika Binay means that there is a lip movement. No lip movement means there is no Vachika Binay. Vachika again, that there is no uttering of words. It's only pure dance or through expressions is what you are expressing, right? Then, whether a classical dance is a combination of Natya, Nrita, Nritya. What does Natya means? Natya, drama. Nrita means pure dance. Nritya means through expressions, right? Natya, Nrita, Nritya, Tandav and Lasya are the basic elements in the classical dance form, right? The other thing is Aharya. They can ask you these terms, Vachika Binay, Aharya. Aharya means when the dance is focusing too much on makeup or stage decoration and things like that. Which classical dance focuses too much on makeup? Kuchipudi, right? So it is based on or it is inclined towards Aharya, right? एक हर्या होता है भरतनाट्यम में, right? Where the dancer takes one, where only one dancer can express or takes many roles. That is एक हर्या. That is Bharatnatyam. Aharya is different and ek harya is different. Don't get confused. Okay? Okay. Then music. Whether now if I say Kathak, right? Kathak is more inclined towards Carnatic music or Hindustani. Hindustani, right? If I say Mohiniyattam, Carnatic, right? So again you can have that classification in your mind. Now why I am saying this? Because Manipuri Sankirtan has its own classical music which is called Nat, N-A-T. Okay? So it is not linking towards Hindustani or Carnatic. Okay? इसलिए बता रही हूँ, this framework is very very important, although whatever questions have been asked by UPSC will do it. Okay? So when you will be doing classical dances, that means every second year there has been a question on classical dance, which is again very very important. Okay? With reference to Manipuri Sankirtan, consider the following statements. It is a song and dance performance, right? Second, cymbals are the only musical instruments used in the performance. Now again it has an extreme word called only, right? Third, it is performed to narrate the life and deeds of Lord Krishna. Very very important thing which I forgot was theme. If it is based on Bhagavad Puran, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, right? So that thing again should be there in your notes or whenever you are studying that topic. Okay. So it is a song and dance performance? Yes. Cymbals are the only musical instruments? No. Third, it is performed to narrate the life and deeds of Lord Krishna? Yes. So the answer is B. Now the source for this preparation of classical dance has to be your CCRT website. So when you go to that website again, you see these images, right? So when you read it, you have to make it in your mind that, okay, there has been use of one a drum-like instrument and the other is a cymbal, manjira, right? So again UPSC is checking on your alertness and pictorial memory, right? The theme is what you have to pick. Again, Ras or Ras Leela, right? Krishna, Radha. These are all prominent words. You would just mark them. Beyond that, what you need to understand is Manipuri Sankirtan or Manipuri dance is also a form of Kirtan, right? Which again signifies what? Bhakti cult or devotion, right? And then it is a mixture of Manipuri dance is a classical dance, right? UPSC has asked Sankirtan. Sankirtan is there in your UNESCO's Cultural Intangible Heritage list. And Manipuri dance is a classical dance. So Manipuri classical dance includes Sankirtan? Yes. Does it include Thangta, which is again a part of Manipuri dance? Yes, a kind of martial art. Does it include festivals like Lai Haroba? Yes. So it is a mixture of traditional festivals, martial art, devotion, bhakti, singing of songs, etc. Right? ऐसे बनाओगे आप notes, right? Theme, Vaishnavites and Shaivism, right? Ras Leela, Ram Leela, picture se mat confuse hona, right? Based on rituals, yes, birth, marriage, festivals ke time pe Laya Haroba, Sankirtan is performed, right? Martial art, Maibas, Maitis, terms again you need to remember. They can give you terms like Maibas, Maitis are related to which of the following classical dance, right? So they are the priest and priestess in the Manipuri dance. Tandav, Lasya element, both are there in it, right? Why? Because of the performance by both male and female. Tandav because of Thangta, right? Okay, Manipuri, classical style of singing is called Nat, right? So it has its own singing style. There are light body movements, musical instruments, pung, cymbals, flute. Another thing which you can add to this format is emphasis on mudras or body movement. Because Tribhang mudra has been asked by UPSC, right? Instrument pe dekho, it's not as if you have to learn it, that what all musical instruments are there or used in classical dance. UPSC what has asked is that it is the only instrument. That means you need to only focus that is there one instrument, two instrument or what, right? आपको वो याद करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. You don't again have to burden too much on yourself that which instrument is used. See, the questions of those sort had been asked in 2008 and 9, right? Now UPSC is not asking such questions. But if someone has died recently or someone has performed in some world event, right, hosted by or having more cultural importance, then you can just know them. Again, emphasis is not to be done on learning the personalities related to them, if they are not there in the current affairs. Okay? Okay. Come to this question. With reference to the famous Satriya dance, consider the following statements. Satriya is a combination of music, dance and drama. Music, dance and drama, Natya, Nritya, Nritya. It is a centuries old living tradition of Vaishnavites of Assam. Theme, theme पूछा है. Third, it is based on classical ragas and talas of devotional songs composed by Tulsidas, Kabir and Mirabai. No. This is for us. No, but Tulsidas. Huh? No, theme to it's Vaishnavite only, but it's not based on the classical ragas and talas of bhakti saints like Tulsidas, Kabir and Mirabai, right? So the only answer is 1 and 2. Again, what you have to do is see the pictures, right? So here also dancers are dancing with drums and cymbals. Women is also there. That means both Tandav and Lasya element. Sat or Satriya means what? A dance performed in the monasteries, right? Yes, Assam, 15th century. It is both music, dance and drama. Main theme again Radha Krishna, associated with Shankar Dev Moor, right? Then they are originally performed in Satras or monasteries, from where the name is coming, governed by The principles of Hasta Mudras, that means gestures, handwork, footwork, aharya, music. It combines all everything. ठीक है? हो सकता था. But देखो, again, you don't have to infer anything till the time you don't read it from somewhere. If it's not there in your NCRT or from whatever source you are reading your classical dances. अच्छा, वैसे what source do you use? No, you cannot say that. Kuchipudi had its genesis from a village called Kuchelapuram, right? Right, and it was first performed by or patronized by the Brahmin priests. Now we cannot say because it had its origin in village, so that means it has elements of folk tradition, right? So it's not as if classical dance will always be a pure classical dance. It may have influence from different themes like Ras Leela, Krishna Leela. They are all themes of folk tales of Krishna, right? So how can you say and judge like that? It would be regional, yes. Regional, yes. Come to third question, Tribhanga. Now Tribhanga, why it is important is first that it is one of posture used in the Odissi dance. Second thing is, Tribhang is a posture was also found from Mohenjo-daro. The bronze dancing girl had this posture, right? Tribhang. Nataraj is also having this posture. So that is why this posture or mudra was asked by UPSC. Now it does not call for that if you are reading from some random source and you come across different mudras used in classical dances, that means not two but more than two, you need not emphasize on them too much, right? Okay. So Tribhanga is one leg is bent and the body is slightly but oppositely curved at waist and neck. Okay, so Odissi dance, this is a chalk position, right? It is more masculine in nature. Tribhang is again more feminine in nature. Lasya, Tandav, both combinations. Then, as you can see, more emphasis on expressions, right? Expressions भी है, mudras भी है. How you would remember? The more you will see pictures. Again, अगर आप इसको सिर्फ रट्टा मारोगे, that it focuses on whether it focuses on mudras, whether it focuses on body movements or what, you will always fall short and bother yourself too much. होगा भी नहीं यार. It's better to learn through pictures, right? Okay, so Odissi dance is a combination of dance and drama. Postures, Tribhang and chalk. Maharis and Gotipua tradition, what does it signify? A student-teacher relationship, right? Temple, it is both temple and court dance, right? We get the influences in these sculptures in different temples of southern India, and it was also patronized by kings of South India, right? It is based on Geet Govind, written by Jaydev. Pakhwat, sitar, flute, again you need not remember the instruments, it's just that I have given so that you should know that it's not as if it is run by only one instrument, right? Okay, question number 4, 2012. How do you distinguish between Kuchipudi and Bharatnatyam dance? Now this was a tough question considering the fact that they have asked you the difference between Bharatnatyam and Kuchipudi, right? Now if such type of questions have already been asked by UPSC, so you have to prepare your classical dances, right? And the best way is this. Okay, let's come to the question. Dancers occasionally speaking dialogues is found in Kuchipudi dance, but not in Bharatnatyam. Second, dancing on the brass plate by keeping the feet on its edges is a feature of Bharatnatyam, but Kuchipudi dance does not have such form of movement. It's the opposite, right? Kuchipudi, there is a special feature in Kuchipudi, this dancing on a brass plate or keeping a pot on the head, which involves a balance work, is signified or referred by a term called tarangam, right? So this term is important. First is Correct. So the answer is A. Now come, let's see Bharatnatyam. What can you infer again? Hand movements, poses, right? It is a group dance, lasya element, right? ये तो सब prominent है, which you can just infer by seeing the picture, right? This Bharatnatyam, as I said, it has its genesis from Natraj. Second, this Bharatnatyam, if you break the words, Bha means bhav, right, or expressions. Ra means rag, melody. Ta means tal. Tal is rhythm, right. Natya means again drama, expressions and drama. It belongs to Tamil Nadu. The states are also very, very important. So it has its textual reference in Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, Abhinay Darpan of Nandikeshwar and Silpadikaram, right? It has its origin in temples, that means it is a temple dance. Hand gestures, mudras, as you have also seen in the picture, are given more importance. Ekharya, it is also known as, aka means also known as, Ekharya, where a dancer performs many roles. There is no Vachika Bhanya because there is more emphasis on expression and bhav, right? No lip movement, no Vachika Bhanya, right? Lasya element, attire because of flame-like, it is also known as fire dance, right? Kuchipudi. Now, what UPSC had asked is this, and this is referred by a term called Tarangam, right? Kuchipudi has its genesis from a village called Kuchelapuram in Andhra Pradesh. It was first patronized by or performed by the priests. So it has an element of village or folk tradition. As you can see from the image, Krishna and Radha, right? So the theme would be Krishna, Radha, Rasila. Mostly in most of the classical dances, it is Vaishnavism, right? Again, postures, hand movement, Kuchipudi, Kuchelapuram, performed by priest, theme Bhagavad Puran. Tarangam is the term used. It is both solo and group dance. There is a Vachika Binne, Carnatic music is involved, Tandav and Lasya element, right? Okay. So if I ask you, which of the following classical dances puts more emphasis on footwork? Exclusively Kathak, right? It has its spins, few spins, right? So it has more prominent footwork. Now, what you were asking, that do we have to do the personalities associated with any classical dance form? Only from the perspective of current affairs. So when we say current affairs, if they received any award, right? If they died recently, so that is how you would just have a look. It's not as if again you would remember them. Bimbavati Devi is associated with Manipuri. Come to classical languages. There have been 2 questions so far and mostly of the current affairs nature. How many of you have already gone through PT 365 culture material? Please revise that material. It will give you more fundamental information, basic concepts would also get clear and give you the current affairs related news regarding it. Okay, so as I was saying that there have been 2 questions and that too current affairs oriented. 2014 they had asked, and that too consecutively, that which of the above classical languages is declared as classical language by the government. Now, how many classical languages are there? 6. Is Gujarati part of classical language? Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, Tamil, Odia, Sanskrit. Right? So the answer is 2 and 3. Which one of the following of the given classical language status, language got classical language status in 2015? Odia got the classical language status. Right? When we were doing polity, I asked you a question that Do the 8th schedule recognize all the classical languages of India? Yes. Okay. So what is the criteria behind classifying a language as a classical language? Now, three things are very, very important. One is that it has a recorded history or early text belonging to a period of 1500 to 2000 years. Second is that the literary tradition is original and not borrowed from any community, right? Third thing which you should always pay emphasis on. Now tell me, because it has its genesis or origin from very, very ancient texts that belong to 1500 to 2000 years before, so would it have a continuous literature or history? No. It will have discontinuity, right? They will give you a statement like that the classical language is recognized as a classical language only if it has a continuous literary tradition, which will be incorrect. Because here, one of the criteria is that there can also be discontinuity between the classical languages and its later offshoots. So please remember these 3 points: 1500 to 2000 years. Second, it should have its own original genesis. And third, there can be discontinuity in the literature or its offshoot. Right? I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay. Yes? Okay. So this we've already done, that yes, 8th schedule recognizes all the 6 classical languages. Now come to classical music. I feel that this time they can ask classical music. I don't know why. Somehow I'm having this feeling. Because it's not, classical music also has been covered from current affairs perspective in PT 365, and there has not been a question on classical music in the last 2-3 years. There has been a question in mains on classical music, but not in prelims in the last 2-3 years, right? 2012, the recent question was in 2012. So this question was also very, very difficult, considering the fact that they are just not asking the difference between Hindustani and classical music or an independent question on Hindustani or classical. They have gone to the sub-style of Hindustani music, right? So with reference to Dhrupad, one of the major traditions of India that has been kept alive for centuries, which of the following statements are correct? Dhrupad originated and developed in Rajput kingdoms during the Mughal period. Now, if someone doesn't know such things, one shouldn't again attempt, right? But again, as I said, that there are certain topics which you should not leave from culture. One is classical dance and the other one is classical music, right? Because these things have been asked in UPSC mains, so you should again not refrain from not reading on them. So what is the difference between classical and Carnatic and Hindustani music? Let's assume you don't know anything, right? सुना तो होगा, कुछ तो idea होगा. If you were to write on differences, Northern India, Southern India, right? From Vedic times, very ancient. Oh, sorry. This is from Mughals. Mughals patronized more this music, right? This Vedic times and ancient music, right? This was because it was influenced by through many foreigners like Mughals, Turks, right? So it is not called as the way Carnatic music as it is indigenous, it has foreign influence. Foreign influence, do not misconstrue it by Westerners. It's the Mughals, Arabs, Turks. Okay? Or thoda sa just think and broad your mind. Devotional. This is this is idealistic, right? You must have heard about Tansen, right? Tansen क्या करता था? On various emotions it used to bring out, right? So it has more emotions, more romanticism, more idealism in it. It is rag based, which is melody. It is tal based, which is rhythm. Itne bhi, if you understand, right, it is more than sufficient about Hindustani and classical. Now just come to think of it, here the performer would have scope for improvisation or Hindustani? Hindustani. Why? Because it is based on emotions and ragas. Here it is based on tal and strict rules, right? So no scope for improvisation. A point B is very, very important. Okay, so Dhrupad is a substyle of Hindustani music. What are the other substyles of Hindustani music? Dhrupad, Dhamar, Khayal, Tappa, Tarana, Dhamar, right? Dhrupad and Khayal are the most important ones, right? Dhrupad is based on mantras, Sanskrit syllables, right? Whereas Khayal would be idealistic, romantic, ठीक है? तो ये major difference है इनके बीच में. So Dhrupad originated and developed in the Rajput kingdoms during the Mughal period. No, it was much ancient in the Hindustanic. The most ancient is Dhrupad. Second, Dhrupad is primarily a devotional and spiritual music. Yes, it has a nature of more spirituality, devotion, because it is associated with chanting of mantras. ठीक है? ये temples में originate हुआ था. It's more Hinduist, influenced by Hinduism, right? So one is incorrect, second and third are correct. So the answer is B. So Dhrupad is one of the substyles in Hindustani music. It's the most ancient, developed in the temples. It's more about pronouncing the mantras. Theme, religion and devotion, seasons and celebration. Because it is rag based. Akbar made it popular through Tansen, Haridas and Baiju Babra. Then the way you have gharanas in Khayal, you have vanis in Dhrupad. Right? Sub style of Dhrupad is vani. Right? And how many vanis? Gohar, Dagar, Khandar and Nohar. ये इतना important नहीं है, but what you should understand is, if the question is asking you that vanis and gharanas are associated with temple architecture, right? Classical dance, classical music, none of the above. So the answer would be your classical music. It existed before Mughal, but it's more influence drawing from Mughals, Arabs, Turks, all the foreigners who invaded India from, right? So Khayal is a substyle again of Hindustani music. Its theme is dreamy love, pranks of Lord Krishna, etc. It has more ornamental lyrics, right? That means it gives emphasis on lyrics, right? Then there are gharanas, the way Dhrupad had vanis. Okay? Okay. The second question which had been asked by UPSC with respect to this topic, it was again personality based question in 2009. Brothers Umakant and Ramakant are associated with. Now just again link. The question which was asked in 2009 was Dhrupad. In 2012 they again repeated Dhrupad. Okay? So there has been again a link between what UPSC is asking. At least if you do those topics in depth, you can still manage, right? To make it more simpler, what I meant was, what is important in the eyes of UPSC will always be important for it, right? Okay. Let's come to cave architecture. There have been 3 questions in the nature of asking you fact and basic cave architecture like. Now, what is cave architecture? There are natural caves and then there are man-made caves. if I say Bhimbetka, is it a man-made cave? When would it be classified under cave architecture? When man does something to it, right? So if a man or a ancient man was drawing painting, it became part of cave architecture. So cave architecture is when you do something on the caves in the form of painting or sculpting, whatever, right? Okay, so the earliest caves were Bhimbetka. Now how you have to do this topic is, in your NCERT, Introduction to Indian Art, there is a chapter called Cave Tradition, right? And there are few names given of most important caves under Gupta's Eastern India, right? So those names are very, very important. Okay, I'll make you write few names which are very, very important. You should not skip. But otherwise also, whatever information is given in your NCERT, Introduction to Indian Art, is very well sufficient for your UPSC examination. Now, cave architecture, as I was saying. So if I say cave architecture from since Buddhism, Jainism period or modern period, how would it be? If I draw a structure like this, would it be Heenyan or Mahayan? Heenyan, right? Everyone understands this? If there is only a burial mound, what is stupa? It is a burial mound, right? Which is containing the relics of Buddha, right? Either his slippers, either his ashes, anything, right? In the form of symbol. If the cave is having a structure like this, it will be Mahayan or Chaitya. Chaitya is a dwelling place, right, where the monks used to reside. Stupa is basically where you worship, right? Mahachaitya would be when in a burial mound stupa, a idol is engraved. That is Mahachaitya. ठीक है? Now this is a vihara. It has chambers. It can have levels of stories, right? It is more of a vihara-like structure. So this is more or less cave architecture. But then there were in Hinduism also cave temples, right? That means early temples which were made out of rocks or caves, right? Okay. Can anyone give me one example of any cave temple belonging to Hinduism? Kailash Nath is one, okay. Who has heard about Bhitargaon? It is made up of brick. Okay? Okay. Chalo, let's come to the question. What is or are common to the two historical places known as Ajanta and Mahabalipuram? Mahabalipuram is a rock temple, right? Ajanta is a cave temples, right? So both were built in the same period? No. Ajanta can belong to Gupta, more precisely, right? Mahabalipuram, Pallavas. So both were not built in the same period. So that means at least the chronology, basic chronology of different dynasties is what you are expected. Why? I'll also make you see another question why I'm saying so. Now when you're reading your Ancient India textbook, which textbook do you refer? R.S. Sharma Old NCERT. Open the index and just have a look for 5 minutes, at least for 5 days. And you will never forget the chronology, right? So this is the most easiest way to learn the chronology. Okay, both belong to the same religious denomination? No. Why? Ajanta belongs to more Buddhism and Mahabalipuram Shaivism, right? So 1 and 2 are incorrect. Both have rock-cut monuments? Yes. Okay? So 3 only is the answer. And why Ajanta? Because it is a World Heritage Site, right? So Pallavas made, or during the Pallavas, Mamalapuram or Mahabalipuram temple was made, right? And they both have rock cut cave tradition. Now again chronology based question. Now what you have to do here is, now the question is asking you with reference to art and archaeological history of India, which one among the following was made earliest, right? Now you only need to know who patronized these temples. Now Mahabalipuram, again UPSC has asked, see the again link. Mahabalipuram twice they have recently asked together. So Mahabalipuram, Pallavas. Pallavas ka period kya tha? Right? What about, now acha tell me, Vara image at Udaygiri? सबसे earliest कौन सा है? This again question has been lifted or made from your NCRT. If you would have again read that chapter, I am forgetting the name. This Dholi cave is given under the chapter of Mauryas. ठीक है, Ashoka period, right? So Ashoka period comes first than all of these, which is 3rd century BC, right? So that is how you would solve such questions, applying chronology, and that is why I am again emphasizing in ancient Indian history you have to do your chronology, right? Guptas pehle aaye the, Pallavas pehle aaye the. This thing should be very clear in your head. Okay, come to another question, 2014. With respect to Indian rock cut architecture, consider the following statements. The caves at Badami are the oldest surviving rock cut caves in India. Second, Parabar rock caves were originally made for Ajivikas by Emperor Chandragupta Maurya, which is also wrong. It was made by Ashoka. At Ellora, caves were made for different faiths, which is correct. It is the only cave which is patronizing Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism, right? One is also incorrect, second is also incorrect, third is correct. Barabar caves are the most earliest ones, right? Now this question can be solved by reading NCRT. There is a again topic called cave architecture in your, not NCRT, CCRT website, right? CCRT website there is a topic called cave architecture, and even in your NCRT, Introduction to Indian Art, just merge them and mix them and read them together. Your questions can be solved more or less, right? So this CCRT website, the question was asking a typical example of early cave architecture is the most datable cave of all, that is Lomas Rishi cave at the Barabar Hills, Lomas Rishi cave, which was excavated for the Ajivika sect at the time of Ashoka himself, right? So that is what the question was asking. Ellora otherwise also has a very peculiar feature that it has the influence of all major religions, right? Okay, another question, Chaityas or Viharas. So Chaityas and Stupas are place of worship, right? By mistakenly I have said that Chaityas are, yes. I am taking my words back, don't get confused. It is Vihara which is a dwelling place for monks. Chaityas and Stupas are in the form of worship, right? So Chaitya is a place of worship while Vihara is the dwelling place of monks, right? Now, again very important section, temples. Before that, just write down a few names of the caves which belong to certain period which you should know, right? So under Mauryan age or Ashoka, you should be knowing Lomas Rishi cave, then caves at Nagarjun hills, right? Caves at Nagarjun hills and Barabar hills, right? Then under Satavahanas, where did Satavahanas rule? Deccan, right? More in the region of Maharashtra. Satavahanas ke under Bhaja caves, Kanheri, Nasik, Junar, Karle. Why I am making you write certain caves names under certain dynasties, because they can just give you traps like these that they belong to Guptas or they belong to Mauryas. So this understanding should be very clear. So Satwana caves, Bhaja, Kanheri, Nasik, Junar, Karle. Now write down under Eastern India or Kharvel kings. Udaygiri and Khandgiri, which are Jain caves, right? Most prominent one. Under Eastern tradition of caves or Odisha, Udaygiri, Khandgiri caves, which were Jain caves, right? And any name starting, ending with Gumpha would be caves in Eastern India, जैसे Rani Gumpha, Hathi Gumpha. These are the caves which belong to Eastern India. You can just write down these two names, Rani Gumpha, Hathi Gumpha. Caves in Eastern India, right? Then Pallavas, very very important is Mahabalipuram cave or Mammalapuram. Mahabalipuram or Mammalapuram under Pallavas, very very important. It is also known as Mammalapuram. Then under Chalukyas of Badami, Patadakal. Again it is a World Heritage UNESCO site. Patadakal complex of temples under Chalukyas of Badami. Aihole उसी के अंदर है. That is why I am saying Patadakal complex of temples, right? It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and it has Aihole caves as well, right? Aihole caves. Then Virupaksh temple is very very important under Chalukyas. Virupaksh temple was also patronized by Vijayanagar kingdom or Vijayanagar rulers, right? Virupaksh temple, again stone. Then under Guptas, last one, under Guptas it is Dashavtar temple at Deogarh, which is very important. Cave temple ही बता रही हूँ मैं. Dashavtar temple at Deogarh. Then Bhitargaon temple, it is made up of bricks. Bhitargaon temple is made up of bricks. And Dhamek Stup, made of rock, under Gupta period. Very very important, right? Dhamek Stup, Bhitargaon temple, which is made up of bricks. Dashavtar temple at Deogarh, right? Okay. Temple at Deogarh. They all three belong to Gupta period, right? Earliest cave architecture. Now we are coming to temples. No, the rocket ones. Shore temples is Mahabali temples are again a complex, right? They are also called Ratha temples because the Raths or the chariots are again made up of stone. Okay? But you would classify them under cave temples only. No, we are talking under cave architecture only because they are made up of stone. They are the earliest cave architecture. Cave architecture does not only include stupa or vihara or chaitya, they also include temples. So the temples which are of earliest tradition, this can be asked, that which of the following temples were constructed the earliest. So how would you get to know? उसमें वो दे देंगे Deogarh temple or Dashavtar temple, then they will give you Patadakal temples. So how would you distinguish? Out of chronology only you would distinguish among them, right? कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. केव आर्किटेक्चर इज हाउ वुड यू, केव्स क्या होते हैं? रॉक के बने होते हैं. द अर्लीस्ट केव ट्रेडिशन इज यस सेम. देर आर केव टेम्पल्स, देर आर चैत्यास, देर आर विहारास, right? They are all representing cave architecture. Now we are coming to temples. Temples are again a complex, right? They are also known as Vastupilas. Vastupilas are again made up of stone. Okay? Then under Guptas, Guptas are again a complex, right? They are all representing cave architecture. Now we are coming to temples. Temples are again a complex, right? They are all representing cave architecture. right? If there is a freestanding temple made up of rock, the earliest type of temple construction was freestanding. Only this structure was there, no carving, nothing was there too much, right? So it is the depiction of earliest cave architecture, right? Okay, come to temples, very, very important topic. Again, how to predict that this temple would be asked. They are asking temples of having very significant cultural contribution. It is either stemming out because they are the earliest ones, either they are stemming out of the fact because they are World Heritage sites recognized by UNESCO, or they are they can be predicted that any of the scheme like Prasad scheme or Adopt a Heritage scheme. Now Adopt a Heritage scheme is very much in news, right, because of Red Fort, right? So Adopt a Heritage scheme has many monuments to be adopted. A list is given under, again, in the website. Please go through that website of the monuments which are listed to be adopted. Now Adopt a Heritage scheme will do. Let's come to temples. Which of the following are famous for sun temples? Now let's suppose. Now such questions, you know, in culture, again can be solved through your confidence and the very logic which I give. An option like this. Now what you have to focus? Omkareshwar only, right? So Omkareshwar, by its name also, it suggests that it is a Shiva temple. It's not a sun temple. And the moment you eliminate 3, you get the answer. So this calls for confidence, right? And common sense. Confidence, if you are not carrying to your examination hall, then anything can happen, right? Have faith and trust. Okay, now this was the question I was saying, that they give you pilgrimage sites and then they give you the geography or a region associated with it. Now again, come to see the options. इसमें क्या नहीं है जो सब में है? That is 4, right? Just see the option 4. Malwa Plateau is where? MP. And Nasik is where? Deccan. Right? So will it be a right option? So the only answer is C. So again, don't fear after seeing such questions. You have to have that confidence and logic and elimination techniques working, right? Isn't it an easy question? Trust me, when you will go to the examination hall, you would remember such tricks, and questions are like that, right? We have made you seen so many questions like these, right? Okay. Now, I will not teach you geography, you've already been taught, right? So, plateaus dekho, and then just locate the temples over there. You have to make a constructive and a concentrated effort to do your maps. It's not as if you will open the map or atlas and you will preparing that section. There is a concerted effort which you have to put with respect to different things. I'll just give you one example. Now when you know that there have been questions like these where pilgrimage sites or their related geography in terms of river, plateau, hills has already been asked, so you have to make again an effort to see those things. Secondly, map से कैसे question आ रहे हैं? Right? Rivers, hills. If you want to link your environment with geography, your national park, wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reserve, again will be linked to all these 3. Right? Again a dedicated effort. There will be again an effort on your end to encash those questions. Otherwise you won't be able to do them. Unless and until UPSC is giving you such throwaway options. Right? Okay. As I said, place of pilgrimage and the associated hills. Again see the options. So you have to again concentrate more on 3. Pushkar is in Rajasthan. Mahadev Hills, they are there in Rajasthan. Only hills which you know in Rajasthan are Aravalli and Mount Abu, the most prominent ones, right? So 3 eliminate कर ही answer आ रहा है. Okay, Panchayatin forms part of temple, construction or architecture. What is Panchayatin? One is the main idol and the rest 4 would be surrounding it, right? Again from your NCERT, Introduction to Indian Art, this is the most important book which you have to do for your culture in the remaining days left, right? Straight away lifted from there. Nagara, Dravida and Vesara, again it is a very basic and fundamental question that they are related to temple architecture. Now, because we are doing this session to help you out, so whatever have been asked by UPSC in the form of temples, again they have only concentrated either in terms of region, right, or either in terms of, which is again physiography. Beyond that, you need not go inside the temple, right? But why are they asking Vidya Shankar temple? Why are they asking Raja Rani temple? Why they are asking Bhimeshwar temple? Because they have close linkage with your cultural traditions of India. Now the safest bet again, if you want to target such questions, the only thing which you can do is when you don't feel like studying or when you're having your lunch, dinner, whatever, go to official tourist websites of different states and just have a look at the temple. Again, I'm saying that you need not go inside the history of the temple. You only need to just have a very cursory glance that, okay, this temple, let's say Virupaksh temple is in Karnataka. This temple is in Gujarat. Only that much information, right? Official tourism websites of the different states, right? Or otherwise leave this section with respect to such questions, right? So, Vidya Shankar temple belongs to Karnataka, right? Raja Rani temple belongs to Odisha. Kandarya Mahadev, very, very important, belongs to Madhya Pradesh. Bhimeshwar temple belongs to Andhra Pradesh. Now, one again very common link which I found out after analyzing papers was Vijayanagar Empire. Okay. Vijayanagar Empire, if has patronized or constructed any temple, it's very, very important. Okay, Vijayanagar Empire. Now come to Vidya Shankar temple, it's dedicated to Lord Shiv, right? So it was made dedicating the Vidya Shankar or Vidya Tirth, right? So Vidranya constructed this temple, and again it has link with your Vijayanagar Empire, because Vidyaranya is believed to influence the brothers Harihar and Bukka. Harihar and Bukka are founders of which dynasty? Vijayanagar dynasty. To construct a temple dedicating to Vidyatirth, who was his guru, right? So that link which I was saying is very much true in this regard, right? Now again, the most important thing is, so if you are going through the website of tourism of different states, it has certain special characteristics. Now this temple has a special characteristic in the form that it has 12 pillars signifying the 12 zodiac signs, right? And the light falls on them, right? And whenever the sun falls on different pillar exactly, you can connect the cosmic or zodiac influence more, right? So that is what is famous. Now another thing is the idol of Sharda, which was in sandalwood, kept by Adi Shankar himself, right? Again, I'm just telling you to let you know the importance of the temple. It's only the thing which you need to cover in this section is your states and geography, that's it. Beyond that you need not to. But if you have to infer the importance would be given from the basis that whether it was patronized by a very important dynasty, it has certain special characteristic, it is recognized by UNESCO, or anything in the current affairs, any state is doing anything for it, right? Vidyashankar temple. Okay, so this is what the temple looks like. 12 pillars, magnificent pillars, each pillar signifying a zodiac sign. Rajarani temple, Odisha, right? What is the difference between Dravida and Nagara temple architecture? Now, let's say you are seeing this picture. You would place or infer from this picture whether it is a Nagara or a Dravida. Can you infer? Huh? How? No, I'm not saying to look at the first picture. If there are gateways, if they are magnificent encarved pillars, it would be a characteristic feature of Dravida, right? If the level or the plane at which a temple is resting is high, right, it would be Nagara, right? If there are tanks or water facility, it would be Dravida, right? If there would be a curvilinear structure in the form of Vamsana, Vallabhi, it would be Nagara, right? We'll do that. Okay, so this Rajarani temple is in Odisha. Then Kandarya Mahadev, as I said, it's a snapshot taken from your NCERT. Anything which is given in your NCERT in the form of temple, you just need to learn its state. That's it. The state in which it belongs to, right? Kandarya Mahadev, Khajuraho. A question was asked in 2009, Virupaksh temple, right? Virupaksh temple is in Hampi. Now Virupaksh temple again is patronized by Vijayanagar. Okay? And it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, right? Palitana temples. Now this question is difficult considering the fact you can get confused in Rajasthan and Gujarat. Yes, it is Bhavnagar. Palitana are Jain temples, very important Jain temples in Gujarat, Bhavnagar. And it's made up of marble, right? It's dedicated to the first Tirthankar, that is Rishabhnath. Now coming to temple architecture, in North India, the temples have a staircase, right? It has elaborate boundary wall. Unlike in southern India, it does not have elaborate boundary walls. Then there is a Gargriya, which is always located at the beneath the tallest temple, right? Then there are different subdivisions in the Shikhar, right? Shikhar in Dravidian temples is known by Viman, right? So there is a curvilinear Latina or Rekha Prasad type of Shikhar, which is in that form, a broad base, not that tall, right? Vamsan, they are also broader and shorter. And then the third is the Vallabhi type, which is having a vault-like structure. So this is Vallabhi, which is a vault-like chamber like this, right? This is your Vamsana, which is more broad. It does not have that much of curve, unlike the Rekha Prasad, which is more curved. It is shorter in height and broad, right? So they can ask you in this form, Rekha Prasad, Vamsana, Vallabhi are related to Nagara temple architecture, right? And that too, your Shikhar. The most important Dravida temple styles are Mahabalipuram, Kailashnath temple at Ellora, right? So the most prominent feature of Dravida temples are its elaborate gateways, pillars, that too encarved pillars, and those pillars are usually having these sculpted images of the protectors in the form of god or animals like horse, right? So that is how the characteristic features of Dravida temple are, right? Hoysala temples, Hoysala architecture, the most prominent feature is its base, star shaped, right? Like this. It has a base like this and they are not that tall, right? Come to monasteries. There have been 2 questions. They are only asking you the state or the region in which those monasteries are located. Now how to do this? Pick up a scheme. Like I got an information from Adopt a Heritage scheme that there have been monasteries being adopted, or the government wants it to be adopted, right? With reference to Buddhist history, tradition and culture in India, consider the following pairs. 2014 में क्यों इतने culture के question आए थे? Because of the schemes being launched on culture and pilgrimage centers and tourist spots, right? Tabo Monastery, Spiti Valley, which is correct, right? Lord Sawa Lakhang Temple, it is Ladakh, right? Alchi Temple Complex. So the only answer is, actually the answer is 1 and 3, right? Tabo Monastery, they have asked it twice. Again, as I said, that if you do certain things, you can still reach to at least more closer answer. Tabo Monastery is in Himachal Pradesh, right? Now, I am taking frequently the name of the scheme, Adopt a Heritage scheme. Please have a look again at this initiative. It is very much in news. Now, who can adopt a monument? Anyone. Private, public sector companies and even individuals. They can give you a statement like this, that only government can adopt or PSUs can adopt. It can be adopted by private companies, public sector companies and individuals. It is an initiative of Ministry of Tourism in collaboration with Culture and ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, right? Now, this snapshot again has been taken from Adopt a Heritage scheme where there was a list of monasteries names given along with their region, right? So again, you can just have a look and do such things from there. UNESCO, very, very important. Recently, which has been inscribed in the UNESCO list? Kumbh Mela, okay? Now there have been questions on UNESCO or the things which have been inscribed in the UNESCO list. There has been a question on Sankirtan, right? Even I think Kudiyattam or Mudiyettu has been asked. I'm not that sure. Probably before 2010 they have asked this, right? There are 2 kinds of list. One which is inscribed and the other one is nominated, right? Nominated list also is what you need to focus upon. Because again, there have been 2 questions. Although Satriya dance is a classical dance, so we cannot say that because it has been nominated on by the Indian or the Indian government, that is why they have been asking Satriya dance. Either of the case is possible. Satriya is also nominated to be inscribed in the list, and Kalamkari painting, if you can remember, in 2015 there has been a question. So that does not make you do only the inscribed list. You also have to go through the nominated ones. This year we have celebrated World Puppetry Day, right? And again, this has been covered in your current affairs. So shadow puppetry, if you were to focus from your CCRT website, you would do shadow puppetry forms, right? Now Kalamkari painting, what have they asked? A very simple question. If someone knows, again the region, right? Hand-painted cotton textile in South India. So the nature of culture questions asked by UPSC is very factual, and there is a limited and a very prescribed way of doing things, right? You don't again have to go too deep unless and until it is philosophy or Buddhism, Jainism, right? The nature is very, very factual. National flag, emblem, calendar. There have been 3 questions. Again, they are of factual nature. The information can again be sought from your India yearbook, right? So there has been a question in 2014 that Chaitra 1 of the national calendar based on Shaka era corresponds to which date of the Gregorian calendar? It is 22nd March, right? A option. Question number 2. The national motto of India, Satyamev Jayate, is inscribed in the emblem of India, is taken from Mundaka Upanishad. Again, information very crystal clear given in your India yearbook. What is the number of spokes in the Dharma Chakra? It was asked in 2008, 24. Right? Now, extra information which you can otherwise search, I have compiled it for you. These are very factual. So, they can ask you national anthem. Who composed it? It is Rabindranath Tagore, whom you can confuse with Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, right? National song, Sanskrit. It was taken in Hindi version, national anthem, national song in Sanskrit version by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. National flag, Ashok Chakra, adopted on 22nd July 1947. These are certain, again, factual information which you can just revise before your examination, just a day before, just have a look at the factual information like this, right? Now, they can ask you which of the following animals is not represented in Ashok Chakra. It would be, if I give you elephant, lion, tiger, horse, tiger, right? Elephant, horse, bull, lion, and a lotus flower, right? National heritage animal of India, elephant. There has been a question on national aquatic animal of India, right, in 2012 or 13. So again, such GK type of information they can ask you. National heritage animal of India is elephant. National aquatic animal of India is river dolphin. National reptile is king cobra, right? GI tag. Now again, this is a question which can be solved through your logic. Now, traditional sarees. Karnal, what does Karnal has to do with traditional sarees? Have you ever come across? Chalo. Kanchipuram has to be there, right? So 3 has to be there. The answer should be between B and C, right? So what you need to focus is first. Bhadrachalam is a town and a temple also, right, in Andhra Pradesh, now in Telangana. So it again does not have to do with your traditional sari or fabric. Earlier, the nature of questions were places in news, right? Bhadrachalam, why was it asked? Because this was a town which reported more hostility or protest when Telangana and Andhra Pradesh issue was going on, right? That is why probably this place has been given. Okay? This year, the GI tags have been given to these commodities, right? Banganpalle mangoes, Pashmina, Nagpur orange, right? Tirupati laddu, Darjeeling tea. This is also Puchampalli ikat is a traditional fabric, right? Fabric or a print, right? Has to do with your textile. Rice, Durgi stone carvings, again, Chakseshang's shawl of Nagaland, all these have received GI tags this year. So there might be a question in this form. Okay? Kangra paintings. Kangra paintings agar karoge, to you need to go back to your basics. Right? As you can see in picture, based on which theme? Krishna Radha. Okay? Come to miscellaneous questions. Again, this was asked this year, 2017. This calls for your random reading and random general knowledge, which you would have acquired since childhood. I would not say that, again, there will be a dedicated reference material to cover such sections. Either leave them or widen your readings, right? Because this has nothing to do with your current affairs, mind you. Nothing to do with your current affairs. It's primarily your GK based questions. Vari Varkari is a sect which is there in Maharashtra, right? They worship Lord Vithoba. Okay? Nandraj Jat Yatra in Uttarakhand, where Nanda Devi, they have just played with the word Nanda Devi Uttarakhand mein, right? So it's related to Uttarakhand. Gonds are tribes residing in Central India, right? Chalia Sahib festival, yes, it's related to Sindhis. Now, whoever the religious minorities are, if they are having their festival, right, you can prepare that. Only, not again going too deep, the minorities and their festivals. ठीक है? Come to this question. Again, it is a random reading and random GK. Mangniyars are a community well known for, right? Musical tradition in Northwest India and more precisely Rajasthan, right? I have repeated this question by mistake. Come to this question. Art and culture. Again, this question has been taken from your Introduction to Indian Art, part 1, right? And it has more to do with, again, the pictures and the theme, right? Now, I get many queries how to read NCERT. Main things are the theme, place, king, religion. That's it. Uske beyond nahi jana hai. Main theme, king, religion, that's it, right? So, a famous work of sculpture and the site is being asked. A grand image of Buddha's Mahaparinirvan with numerous celestial musicians above and the sorrowful figures of his followers below. Huge image of Vara Avatar, Mount Abu, Arjuna's penance, Mambalapuram. Again you see, Mahabalipuram has been asked thrice in 10 years. ठीक है? Okay. Arjuna's penance is not there in it's there in Mambalapuram. Its answer is 1 and 3, C. Second is not Mount Abu, but Vara image at, yes, Vara Boar image at Madhya Pradesh, right? Come to this question, regional dances, right? One is regional dance, the other one is classical dance, and the other one is theatre. Garba is a regional dance, Gujarati. Mohiniyattam, Kerala, classical dance. Yakshagan, theatre form in Karnataka. So answer is 1 and 3, C. Kalaripayattu is again a martial art belonging to South India, right? But again you can do this theme more. There has been in recent current affairs Khelo India scheme, which has again focused on promoting along with Sports Authority of India certain martial arts. Like, I'll just give you the names. Kalaripayattu has already been asked. They are traditional art or traditional sports, right? Kalaripayattu has already been asked. You can just go down through the list and make use of the information. Only the state and the traditional sport, right? You can only at the max do its nature. That what is its nature? Is it a bow and arrow sport? Is it a gymnastic? Things like that, right? Again, its link is with current affairs, Khelo India scheme. Now they are not asking you directly sports-based schemes or directly culture-related schemes. They are framing questions from there, right? So that is how you would do it. Gatka, again a martial art belonging to Punjab, not Kerala. So 1 is ruled out. Madhubani is belonging to Bihar. So 2 has to be there, and the only option left is C, 2 and 3. Singhe Kabha Sindhu Darshan Festival, JNK. Let's come to medieval Indian history. The most toughest, right? But the most important topic is Bhakti Sufi, right? There have been 5 questions. That means after every year there is a question. Mostly the questions have been in the nature of basic and fundamental. Let's come to the question. With reference to cultural history, and that too, Lingayats are very much in news in current affairs, so you can again expect a question from this topic, right? Siddhas of Tamil region were monotheistic and condemned idolatry, which is correct. Lingayats of Kannada region questioned the theory of rebirth, rejected the caste hierarchy. C is the answer. Now the nature of Bhakti Sufi movement, I'll just give you a framework. The Bhakti movement started with Alvars and Nayanars. They were poets or saints, right? Then after them, the system of acharyas came in the form of Nimbarkacharya, Madhavacharya, then Shankaracharya, Ramanuja. This period is ranging of Bhakti movement starting from your 6th century AD to your 15th, 16th century AD, right? This Acharya system more precisely came around 9th to 11th century, right? Then their disciples of these Acharyas like Kabir, Mirabai, etc. is what you hear more about them, is the recent or the most latest addition in the form of Bhakti Sufi traditions. So what they did was that in the form of Abhangas, short poems, like in Maharashtra, Tukaram, Namdev, Abhangas, right, Vachanas in Kannada by Basavana. So they were propagating their ideas again in form of short poems. They had a more disciplined philosophy of Bhakti tradition, right? Okay, so let's come to the second question. Bijak is a composition of the teachings of Saint Dadu Dayal. It's of Kabir. Kabir is very, very important. Their teachings are important, at least their names, right? Philosophy of Pushti Marg was propounded by Vallabhacharya and not Madhavacharya. So as you can see, even these names and their philosophy, if not the concept, at least the name of it is what UPSC is asking, right? So the answer to this question is D. Now, an indirect chronology based question. The question asked by UPSC was that when the Lodi dynasty fell and Babur took over, when did he take over? In the year 1526. Who was the Bhakti saint teaching at that time? Right? It's the only answer is Guru Nanak, right? So that means you need to also have an idea upon the contemporaries, at least the most important contemporaries. If any important Bhakti saint is there and you're reading it from your NCRT, yes, the source for this is purely your NCRT, the new one and the old one, medieval India, right? Only for Bhakti Sufi movement I'm saying, right? Now this is the basic concept behind Sufi ascetics or Sufi saints. With reference to the religious history of medieval India, the Sufi mystics were known to pursue which of the following practices? This is a purely NCRT based question. I'll show you the source also along with a snapshot, that only if you do your NCRT, things can again be little bit smoother for you. So meditation and control of breath, yes, they had this practice of doing meditation and control of breath. Ascetic exercises, yes. Recitation of holy songs to arouse a state of ecstasy in their audience, yes, right? All three is the answer. That means D. Now, as you can see, Sama, breath control, mystics and ecstasy, right, is what they have asked in a form about Sufi mystics. That is how you would read it, right? Why I am showing you with the snapshot is to tell you how you have to read it. You don't have to leave even the box or a picture. Questions are directly framed from those areas where it is showing with the picture, right? नहीं कितना देखेंगे नहीं. अब now relate to ecstasy. Have you seen movies? Have you seen, not ecstasy in that form? Have you seen movies where have you seen that movie of Jodh Akbar? Right? There are songs outside the mosque. What do peers do at that point of time? Sama, right? And then there are other peers which they are just blowing their head, right? So that is what is mysticism and ecstasy at that point of time. Yes. Right. That I don't know. Chalo, let's come to the Sufi order. The most important Sufi order which you can focus from your NCRT is your Chishti order among the Sufis, right? So they have the period in and around 12th century AD. The terms which are there in your NCRT like Khanka, Sama, right? Or there are other names also which you can just note it down, because in medieval Indian history section, the other type of questions which they are asking are terms, right? It's only the Bhakti and Sufi movement where you have to go little bit deep and make notes from, right? So Khanka is a place. What is Khanka? Hospice. What is hospice? Again a dwelling place, right, where people collected. Some of the most important Chishti Silsila Sufi saints, right, they will ask you again that they belong to Suharwadi Silsila, Qadri Silsila. At least Chishti Silsila Sufi saints or teachers you should know, right, because Sufi Chishti Silsila is very, very important. Yes. Right? Ziyarat is a term when a person goes to a tomb for pilgrimage, right? So that is what you understand by ziyarat. Barakat is blessing, right? Zikr is the divine name. Sama is when you bind the audience together in the form of music. Right? Yes, languages are very, very important. Again, the Chishti Silsila propagated in which language? Hindavi, right? Then your Padmavat was written in which language? Awadhi, right? Then another genre of Sufi poetry is found in the forms of short poems in Dakhani, which is again a variant of Urdu language, right? Hindavi, Dakhani, right? That is how you would read it, your NCRT. Then, that's it. So Dakhani were the songs sung mostly by women at the time of doing household chores like cooking, spinning, grinding, right? Then this relationship of Sufis and the state. The Sufis or the Chishti tradition was more believed in more austerity. What do you understand by austerity? Simplicity, right? Again, renunciation. But that does not mean that they did not take endowments or alms from the state. They did take, but they did not assume power, right? There have been instances of conflict between sultans and the Chishti Sufis. This can be given as a statement that the Chishti Sufis did not have any conflict between the sultan. Yes, they did have. And even the sultan sought legitimacy to do his certain acts through the Sufi saints, because Sufi saints were more connected with the people. So if he had to abide or get more recognition from the people, they used to take help from the Sufi saints. Come to Bhakti movement. There are two traditions in Bhakti movement, Sagun and Nirgun. Sagun is with attributes. When the God is given an attribute or a name, Nirgun is without attribute. That means it does not have any name or identity. Right? So when we say Nirgun Bhakti saints, it would be Kabir, Nanak and Dadu, because they believed in, did they give any identity to God? No. Just a concept of God, right? And when we say Sagun Bhakti saints, it would be in the form of different Bhakti traditions like Alvars, Nayanars, Veer Shaivism, etc. Okay? Yes, their compilations are important. There have been 63 Nayanars and 12 Alvars. Tevaram and Tiruvakam were the compilations of Nayanar songs, and Divya Prabandham of Alvars. These again names are important. Come to the attitude towards caste. So what they would have professed? No caste system, rejected Brahminic authority, right? Okay, and but they got the authority, or they said that their teachings are also like Vedas, right? So that is why certain texts like Nalaraya Divya Prabandham is also known as Tamil Veda, to get more sanctity or legitimacy from the people, right? Women participation, yes, was there. There have been Bhakti saints, women Bhakti saints in the form of Andal, who was an Alwar saint, then Karaikal, right, Shaivite. Then these women, or the women Bhakti saints, renounced their social obligations, but they never became nun, right? So this is important. Veer Shaiva tradition, question has already been asked on it, right? So it was patronized by or propounded by Basava, Karnataka, right? And then he was a minister in the Chalukyan court, right? His followers were known as Veer Shaivites or Lingayats. Veer Shaivites are those who are considered as heroes of Shiv, and Lingayats who wear a linga, right? Lingayats believe what? That the devotee, that the death of the devotee will be united with Shiva, that on death the devotee will be united with Shiva and will not return to his world, right? So that is why they do not burn the body, they cremate. They challenge the idea of caste and pollution. This idea of caste and pollution will become universal for all the Bhakti, Sufi, Bhakti and Bhakti traditions, right? They question the theory of rebirth because they used to bury, right? They never used to burn them. Siddhas are Shaivite school, right? Again belonging to Tamil Nadu. It was more monotheistic and it condemned idolatry. Okay. Then after that we'll just have a look at few disciples who propagated Bhakti teachings more, right? Ramanand is very, very important. And then Kabir is important. His poems in the form of Bijak, Sakhi Granth, Kabir Granthavli, Anurag Sagar, you can just take out the factual information from there, right? Again I'm saying that do it twice, this section, right after your class in 1 or 2 days or just before the examination. These are factual you don't have interest in, right? So those things which you don't have interest in are to be done just before the examination so that they remain fresh in your memory, right? Okay. Guru Nanak, question has been asked whether he was contemporary of Babar or not, right? Along with it, you have to make sure that you are doing contemporaries because there have been a question. This is all factual information. Just make sure that you are doing this literature and language in which they propose, like Namdev, Marathi, Mirabai, Gujarati, yes. Tulsidas, Hindi, Dadu Dayal, again Gujarati more, right? They have an important role in giving more promotion to regional languages. That is why they are important in the cultural history. From their teachings, regional literature grew, right? Earlier it was only Hindi and Sanskrit, right? Now come to philosophy in medieval India. Now, of these acharyas. I'll just make you explain in very simpler manner. As I initially said, that this philosophy is to be seen in two relations. One is God or Brahma vis-a-vis world or universe or samsara. Right? Okay. Now this Dvait or dualism of Madhava, it says that Brahma and world are two real, equal, independent entities. What did he say? That there exists God and there exists universe or world and they are independent of each other and they are existing, right? But it said that God is to be worshipped in the form of Vishnu, right? Creation of world is happening from Vishnu, but it is independent of Vishnu, or rather it has got to do more with the subordinate position of world in comparison to God, right? You can just go through the highlighted lines. In simpler words, I am just explaining you. Two things are very, very important. The school is recognizing the existence of Brahma. It is recognizing the existence of world, right? Secondly, it is saying that God is to be worshipped in the form of Vishnu, right? Vishnu is the creator of world, but it is independent. World also has its own existence, or rather the relationship is to be seen in terms of subordinate or inferior relationship when it is compared with Brahma and world, right? Vishishtadvait, which is qualified monism, it is also saying that Brahma and world are two equal real entities, but world is not separate from Brahma. Unlike in Advait, which was separate, right? It says the world is not separate from Brahma, rather world has been created out of Brahma, right? So that means it has equal status with the God or Brahma. The world has equal status with the God. And here also the God is to be worshipped in the form of Vishnu, that too purely personal, right? Right? Got the difference? Here, independent existence, inferior, more inferior position. Here also, there it is identifying God and world, but they are considered to be two equal entities, and world is created out of Brahma. Brahma is nothing but Vishnu, right? And it is purely personal God, right? Advait of Shankaracharya is a school of monism. It is more of a spiritual school which does not or which denies the existence of the world altogether. It says the God is not a personal God, is not any a God in any human form or a name is given. It is purely spiritual in nature, right? Got the meaning? Okay. And the world, even though existing, it is existing out of its own forces. When do we say that one is spiritual? If we say NASA is doing experiment on this God's particle, what is it doing? It is analyzing or inferring or coming out of inference of how the world got or the world formed, right? So they believe that world is a cosmic energy. It is more to do with physics and it has its own energy. Similarly, Advait also believes that world does not exist. And if the world is there, it is forming and ending out of its own energy, and God is purely impersonal, right? Then Nimbark, Dvait, which is dualistic monism. It believes that God has transformed himself into world and soul, and this world and soul are different from God. They could survive with the support of God only. They are separate but dependent. इसका क्या मतलब है? How do you differentiate between Dvait and Dvait? What does it say? That God transformed himself into world and soul, and this world and soul are different from God. They could survive with the support of God only. They are separate but dependent. That means in Dvait, the world was inferior, right? It was not dependent, it was independent. Here, the world is dependent upon the force of the God, right? Then Shuddhadvait of Vallabhacharya, it says that God and world are same. One of the two sides of the same coin. God is equivalent to world and world is equivalent to God. Right? There is no difference. And Vallabhacharya laid down Pushti mark, which was asked. Right? So it says that God and soul are not distinct but one. Right? Right? I cannot explain you more than simply than this. And itna bhi yaad ho jayega, whatever question UPSC would ask, it would be, you would be safer. Because bas yaad itna hi karna hai, relationship of God with the world. Whether it is dependent, whether is it independent, whether they are merged. Merged किस में है? वल्लभाचार्य में, right? और independent and spiritual कौन सा है? शंकराचार्य, right? द्वैत क्या है? Independent but inferior position. द्वैत द्वैत dependent. ठीक है? Okay. Now this was the question which I was talking about when we were doing Buddhism. Among the following, who was not a proponent of Bhakti cult? Nagarjun, Tukaram, Tyagraj, Vallabhacharya. Tukaram, Tyagraj, Vallabhacharya are Bhakti proponents, and Nagarjun was Buddhism. He propounded which theory? Shunyata, right? Also known as Madhyamika. Now come to your terminologies related questions. They are purely factual. 6 questions have been asked. Or miscellaneous questions. So this was one question which blew away the mind of or brain of many, right? Why? Because the question is so difficult that all of these are ports, right? And the question is asking you which of the following is a very important seaport. And that too of Kakatiya kingdom, right? So such questions should be left. Or otherwise, no basic textual reference gave this answer. So we got it from the optional textbook. Why Motupalli is considered to be the most important? Because it was visited by a Venetian traveler, right? Belonging in the Kakatiya kingdom. So Motupalli is the most probable answer to this. B. Banjaras during the medieval period of Indian history were traders, right? With reference to the economic history of medieval India, the term Araghatta refers to the water wheel used in the irrigation of land. In the context of history of India, consider the following pairs: Eripatti, Taniyars, Ghatikas, and what do they relate to? Now, whatever questions we have seen in such a short span of time, they are mostly related to economic and social history, right? So if you are to do the terms from medieval Indian history section, you have to more focus upon not political terms, but economic, land revenue, or any officers' terms, or from social history, right? Eripatti is a land revenue from which was set apart from the maintenance of the village tank, which is true. Ghatikas, yes, the colleges generally attached to the peoples, or the mathas which were attached to the temples. So the answer is 1 and 3, right? Eripatti, Tayunur is a large village under Chola division. Sorry, the answer is 3 only, not 1 and 3, 3 only. The options have been exchanged between Eripatti and Taniyur, right? Taniyur is a large village under Chola administrative division. Eripatti is a land donated by individual which was set apart from the maintenance of village tank, and land grants or the ghatikas or the mathas were specially given to attach the temples with the educational institutions. So 3 only is the answer. Come to this, Mahadara and Patakila, they were village officers, right? Yes, feudalism. Now again see the options. The option does not lead you to the right answer, but at least you understand feudalism. Feudalism, would it be centralized political authority, or and with a weak provincial local authority, or a strong provincial or local political authority? Why? Who are feudal lords? if you were to again draw comparison with Indian villages, it would be zamindars, right? So by that very logic, it would be strong provincial rulers or intermediaries, right? Emergence of administrative structure based on control and possession of land. Land was the basic unit on which the whole things were running in the feudal setup, right? Creation of lord-vassal relationship between the feudal lord and his overlord. Yes, right? Master and a servant like. So feudalism decentralized the power of the state and made way for a weak government, right? Feudal lords were the real power, right? They lacked the learning and education, right? They were not that educated, and new ideas and products and methods were still not discovered. What is feudal mindset? Old, patriarchal, which does not accept changes, invention, because they want to maintain the status quo of the divisions, right? Okay. Then next very important topic is Vijayanagar Empire. Two questions have been asked. One directly on the taxation system of Krishnadev Rai. So the question is, the tax rate on land was fixed depending on the equality of land, which is true. Private owners of workshops paid an industries tax, which is also true. We'll do at length Vijayanagar Empire. Now this question was based upon whether you know the important rulers of different dynasties or not, right? So Prataprudra II, Kakatiya. So this question is that who of the following founded a new city on the south bank of a tributary to river Krishna and undertook to rule his new kingdom as the agent of deity to whom all the land south of the river Krishna was supposed to belong. What does agent of deity mean? That his royal orders were like commands of the god, right? And this Vijayanagar Empire got the authority from Virupaksh temple or the Virupaksh cult, Pampa Devi, right? That is why there has been a question in CAPF also that which of the following dynasties ruled on behalf of Virupaksh, Lord Virupaksh, right? And the answer again was Vijayanagar Empire, right? So there have been twists and turns with respect to Vijayanagar Empire as a topic, and it is very, very important, right? So let's, the answer is Harihar 1. Harihar and Bukka founded Vijayanagar Empire. Now Vijayanagar Empire, Bukka and Harihar were in the service of Kakatiya ruler of Warangal. The city of Vijayanagar was founded on the banks of Tungabhadra. Kakatiya kingdom, Prataprudra II, and the capital was founded on the banks of Godavari, right? Amogh Varsh 1, they are all important rulers. Rashtrakuta, right? And he is also known as Ashok of the south. That is why his name was probably given by UPSC because of his contributions and expansions, right? Veer Ballal, you all have seen Ballal Dev, right? So Veer Ballal belonged to the Hoysala Empire, right? And he built, these temples are important. Helibit temple, at Helibit Kedeshwara temple and Amriteshwar temple, right? To both the temples in Karnataka, right? So Vijayanagar Empire. Vijayanagar Empire is divided into different dynasties, right? Okay. What is the name? Sangam, Salav, Tuluv and Aravidu. Krishnadev Rai belongs to which dynasty? Tuluva dynasty. Okay, so Sangam dynasty was the earliest and had the longest reign, right? The most important ruler was Harihar and Bukka, right? The bone of contention between the Vijayanagar and Bamani kingdom was Raichur Doab on the bank of Tungabhadra and Krishna Godavari delta. So this is important, right? And after Harihar and Bukka, the most important ruler of Sangam dynasty was Devarai II, right? During his reign, these travelers are important. Abdur Razak visited the Vijayanagar Empire. Abdur Razak. So they can give you a question like, who of the following travelers visited Vijayanagar Empire? One is Abdur Razak, right? Then Saluv dynasty. Saluv Narasimhan was the founder, right? Vasco da Gama landed in Calicut during his reign. So Vasco da Gama is another traveler. Abdur Razak Vasco da Gama. These two visited in Vijayanagar Empire. Then Tuluv dynasty, very very important ruler is Krishnadev Rai, right? And most important is that during his tenure or during his reign, Portuguese travelers like Domingo Pais Barbosa visited, right? So 4 names in total: Abdul Razak, Vasco da Gama, Domingo Pais and Barbosa, right? He was contemporary of Babur. Krishnadev Rai was contemporary of Babur, right? Then you can just go through his works. Amukta is the most important one. He's also known as Andhra Boj, right? He's also known to have in his court 8 scholars called by the name of Ashtadiggaj, right? The temples which he built, the Krishnadev Rai, are very very important. Vijay Mahal, Hazara Ramaswamy Temple, Vitthal Swami Temple, right? Although political history is what they are not asking, but you can just remember this name of this battle. It is related to Krishnadev Rai and Vijayanagar Empire, right? After this, Vijayanagar Empire saw a downfall, right? Then Aravidu dynasty, the last ruler or the last dynasty of Vijayanagar Empire. Now this administration is important. The administration of Vijayanagar Empire was divided into provinces called mandalams, right? The land revenue was fixed at 1/6. There were taxes on various professions and industries. There is a Iyengar system which is most famous in the administration, which is related to village administration, right? So for every village there was a separate unit of functionaries, right? Let's say for every village there would be a department sort of a thing. That is Iyengar system, right? These Iyengars, has anyone requested something? No? Okay. So these Iyengars were also granted tax-free lands to manage or administer villages, right? Just do the factual information whether they were hereditary rights. Yes, they had hereditary rights over them. They could also sell or mortgage the land which they got from the ruler, right? Then another system which is very very important under Vijayanagar Empire is Nayaks system. Who are Nayaks? Nayakas were also given the authority to manage the lands or administration, right? Who are Nayaks? The small kings. Who are Nayaks? Military. They have got to do more with military administration, right? So they were required. The Iyengars were more linked towards village administration. Nayakas were linked with army. So they were required to maintain a sufficient number of troops under them, right? So they can ask you Nayak and Iyengar system are related to which of the following dynasties, right? So it has to be your Vijayanagar Empire, right? Then society. What was the condition of society under Vijayanagar Empire? It was very splendid. It has many temples, right? Again, another traveler who visited during that time was Niccolo Conti. So he said that slavery was prevalent, right? Vijayanagar markets were most known for its spices, textiles and precious stones. Position of women, not that good, right? Not that good and not that bad. There were some women who were employed in royal palaces, but overall general position of women was not good because of Devdasi system, polygamy, sati, etc. Right? Architecture. The architecture, now as I said that Vijayanagar Empire got the authority from Pampa Devi or the Virupaksh Lord to govern, right? And Vijayanagar temples or Vijayanagar architecture is most famous for its pillars, right? Decorated pillars which had mithuns. Mithuns are again heroes or animals, not animals, great heroes, and there were on certain pillars there were animals who were linked with the Dwarpals to protect the fort or the temple, right? Most important temples, Vitthal Swami and Hazara Rama temple of Vijayanagar, right? Then the list of travelers: Ibn Battuta, Niccolo Conti, Abdul Razak, Barbosa, Pace, Nunes, Vasco da Gama, right? Come to Mughals. There has been two questions, one related to Babur and the other related to architecture in the form of Pietradoura, right? And Ibadat Khana. So arrival of Babur into India led to. Again, this question has directly been made from your old NCRT Satish Chandra, right? So it led to the introduction of gunpowder in the continent. It was Mongols and Mongolians, and it was prevalent before Babur. Introduction of the arch and tomb in the region's architecture, it is more associated with Delhi Sultanate, right? Establishment of Timurid dynasty in the region, yes. So the answer is 3, and just see the option. 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. The moment you eliminate 1, you arrive at the answer, right? Again, this snapshot is taken from your NCRT just to make you feel confident that the question has been made from your NCRT. First time since the downfall of the Kushan Empire, Kabul and Kandahar became integral parts of, this is the second page. Rapid popularization of gunpowder and artillery. New mode of warfare, although gunpowder was known in India earlier, right? Establishment of an all India empire, right? There was a passage on Timurid dynasty also. I think by mistake not, okay, I've written it. Babur was a descendant of Timurid dynasty, which is true, and it's given in your NCRT, right? Arches and tombs were a characteristic feature of Delhi Sultanate, right? How is Indo-Islamic architecture characterized? In the form of arches, domes, minaret, Pietradoura. Was it having carving of religious scriptures or religious images? No, right? Ibadat Khana at Fatehpur Sikri was. Now this question, why it is confusing? Because it has very, again, related options. Just read C and D. C says a hall in which Akbar held discussions with scholars of various religions. D, the room in which the nobles belonging in different religions gathered to discuss religious affairs. It's C, but are you able to again appreciate the kind of options UPSC has set? C and D are too close. The only trap played by UPSC here was that did Akbar participate in that or not? Yes, Akbar did participate in Ibadat Khana, so the C is the most appropriate option, right? Come to ancient India, 11 questions so far, right? That means again one question at least. Okay? Rig Vedic civilization or Rig Vedic period, later Vedic period, Indus Valley civilization are few areas which are very, very important. Apart from then Mauryas, right, and Guptas. If you have less time and you again want to focus more, then it's Rig Ved, later Vedic, your Indus Valley, Mauryas and Guptas, right? These 4-5 chapters. Come to the question. 2017 they have asked, with reference to the difference between culture of Rig Vedic Aryans and Indus Valley people, which of the following statements are correct? Now again see the options. The moment you eliminate 3, the most appropriate answer is 1, right? So 3 says Rig Vedic Aryans had domesticated the horse, whereas there is no evidence of Indus Valley people having aware of this animal. Now this third statement is saying that there is no evidence of Indus Valley people having aware of this animal. This is incorrect, because even the NCRT, your old NCRT, establishes the fact that they were aware, but it was not in regular use. And even in your AL Bhasham Wonder, that was India, there have been references or examples or inferences found from Lothal, right? Horse remains were found from Lothal. So it does not say that there was no evidence, right? Just have a look at the snapshot to convince. So this snapshot has been taken from your Wonder, that was India. So it says that this would indicate that horse riding nomads found their way to northwest India in small numbers, but it is very doubtful whether the Harappa people possessed domestic horses themselves, and if they did, they must have been very rare animals. So we cannot say that there did not exist during Harappan civilization. The most, NCRT explicitly mentions, it says that evidence of the horse comes from a superficial level of Mohenjo-daro and from a doubtful terracotta figurine from Lothal, right? But it is clear that this animal was not in regular use in Harappan times. So it does not say that there have been no evidence, right? So the most appropriate answer is one only to this question. Indus Valley civilization, which is also known as Harappan civilization. So the question is, they possess great palaces and temples. Did Harappan civilization have great palaces and temples? No, it was more of a urban, economic civilization, right? They worship both male and female deities, yes, right? They employed horse-drawn chariots in warfare. Did they ever do warfare and indulge in war? No. Horse, yes. So, no, but the answer is not that whether there was horse. The answer is that they employed horse-drawn chariots in the warfare. There were no stories or again evidences of warfare in Indus Valley civilization. So the answer is 2 only. B. Answer is B. Come to third question. Religion of early Vedic Aryans was primarily of Bhakti, image worship and yagnas, worship of nature and yagnas, worship of nature and bhakti. Worship of nature and yagnas. Nature how? In the form of Indra, in the form of trees, right? Vayu, elements of earth, right? And yagnas, yes, sacrificial altars were done. And there were many yagnas for the king also, like Akshvamedh Yagna, right? So the answer is C. Regarding the Indus Valley civilization, consider the following statements. It was predominantly a secular civilization and the religious element, though present, did not dominate the scene. Yes, it was more of an urban and more economic and more secular civilization. Second, during this period, cotton was used for manufacturing textiles in India, which is also true. So the answer is C, both 1 and 2. Now this is important. Again, this question can be said that it has been lifted from your El Bhasham Wonder, that was India. So if you again have to do more from there, Indus Valley and Rig Vedic civilization is 2 more chapters which you can do, because these chapters are important from ancient Indian perspective, right? So the dharma and the reeth depict a central idea of ancient Vedic civilization of India. Dharma or dharma was a conception of, what is dharma? Duty, moral obligation, conduct, right? There is a laid down conduct for a king, Raj Dharma, right? They say that there is a Raj Dharma, there is a Raja ka Dharma, there is a Patni Dharma, there is a Pati Dharma, right? So what is Dharma? Dharma is the duties or the moral obligations, right? Or conduct rules. So dharma was a conception of obligations and of the discharge of one's duties to oneself and to others, which is correct. Reeth was a fundamental moral law governing the functioning of the universe and all it contained. What is Reeth? How many of you are well versed in Hindi? Reeth means continuance, right? Continuity. And this reeth is guided by God or universe? Universe, right? It's not guided by God. It is a very spiritual concept, again guided by universe or cosmic law. So 2 is also correct. Both depict the central idea of Rig Vedic Vedic civilization, right? So C is the answer. You can just see these slides also, but otherwise they are very simple, no complexity in it, right? Come to miscellaneous questions, 6 questions, and after that we end the session. Shreni or guilds. So if I ask you, what are guilds? What are they? Commercial body, right? Commercial body. Guilds can be of different professions like Potter's Guild, right? Merchants Guild, Artists Guild, right? So guild is a professional body, right? So if I ask you that guilds only existed in Gupta period, would it be correct? No. They started existing since the time of Mauryas, right? Guilds existed in the ancient period throughout, except your Vedic and Indus civilization, right? Every guild was registered with the central authority of the state, and the king was the chief administrative authority on them. It is partly true, right? Why partly true? Because king was not the chief administrative authority, but yes, they were getting legitimacy from the state, right? So first is incorrect. The wages, rules of work, standards and prices were fixed by the guild. Yes. The guild had judicial powers over its own members. Yes. Actually, the guild was the most autonomous unit existing in the economic life of ancient India, right? They could do trade internally. They can also do trade with the foreign countries. They had their own set of rules to punish their members. They also did social welfare obligations of the members of the guild. Like if any guild member died, right, there was a concept called insurance over there, where they used to again give pensions to the family left, right? They can lend the money, they can finance the money, they also worked as a banker and a financer, right? So you can just go through it. Lending, financing, administration, judicial, domestic, foreign trade, all were the jurisdiction or functions of the guilds, right? Come to this question, again a terminology based question. With reference to the cultural history of India, the memorizing of chronicles, dynastic histories and epic tales was the profession of who of the following? That means who used to remember the chronicles at the ancient period? It was Magad, right? This question pertained to Gupta period, right? So if that is what I said, if you were to focus in ancient Indian history, you have to focus more on till Gupta period, right? Who of the following had first deciphered the edicts of Emperor Ashok? James Princip. B. Come to this question, question number 4. Chinese traveller. There were literary works also which you can just go through. Actually, the question was not pasted over there, only the content. Let's come to the question, the Chinese traveller. Yuan Sang recorded the general conditions and culture of India at that time. In this context, consider the following statements. Now, just read 1 and 2 and tell me what do you infer. I am not saying that whether it is true or false. Just tell me again the nature. Can they be true together? First statement is saying the roads and river routes were completely immune from robbery, right? Second, as regards punishment for offences, ordeals by fire, water and poison were the instruments for determining the innocence or guilt of a person. Now, first statement, if you generalize it, it says that there were no crime, almost, right? Or very less number of crime. And second says that there was harsh punishments. If harsh punishments is meted to someone, how can the first statement can be true, right? So again, if you get this chance of eliminating certain things, please also have a look at the relationship between the statements, right? Third, the tradesmen had to pay duties at ferries and barrier stations. Actually, this question, why it has been framed, because Yuan Sang himself was robbed at the highway. So first, you eliminate and you get the answer. Again, see the options. 2 and 3, right? What else did Yuan Sang saw at the time of Harsha? That there was untouchability. The status of the women declined. The offenders were given physical and torturous punishments, right? The main source of income of the state was land revenue. And then the tradesmen had to also go to and fro from negotiating with the merchants, the ferry, the duties paid at ferries and barrier stations, right? Another important traveller is Fayan. Fayan came at the time of Gupta, right? So what he noticed, that he said that Gupta administration was a mild and benevolent one. That means Harsha was more strict, right? There was no state interference in individuals' life and punishments were not severe. Totally opposite of Harsha. right? Administration was so efficient that the roads were kept safe for travelers and there was no fear of thieves. Again, the total opposite of what Yuan Sang experienced at the time of Harsha and he experienced at the time of Guptas, right? Come to question number 5th. With reference to scientific progress, consider the following statements. There is, I think, second last chapter in your Ancient India textbook, right? That chapter is very, very important, right? You can just make slide notes on it. Although I've given it in you in the slide form, certain extra things with respect to this topic, right? Let's come to the question. With reference to scientific progress in ancient India, which of the following statements are correct? Different kinds of specialized surgical instruments were in common use by 1st century AD. Now this question is very difficult. Why? Because it is also giving you in each statement year. 1st century AD, 5th century AD, 7th century AD, right? But the answer is all 4. Again, this is one of those questions, if you don't know, you just leave. Because again, it is not giving you any chance of eliminating or having those options. Although the answer is 4. That means you are to memorize in your memorize that there were specialized surgical instruments which were existing in India. That means surgery was being done, right? Transplant of internal organs was also done in India. The concept of sine of an angle was also known. Concept of cyclic quadrilaterals was also known. Have you ever heard Man Ki Baat? Have you ever come across PM Modi saying that liver transplant or surgery used to date back to ancient times, right? So all 4 is the answer. So this is what you can just refer. The contributions of Aryabhat, discovery of Earth's rotation on its axis. They can ask you directly this question, that what are the contributions of Aryabhat, right? Discovery of Earth's rotation on its axis. That means it was first discovered that Earth rotates on its axis by Aryabhat. Discovery of zero, rather it cannot be attributed to one person, but he had used zero in his studies. So we cannot say that zero was discovered by Aryabhat, right? Discovery of clause of eclipse. Pi, his famous work is Aryabhatya, right? Then come to this is also very, very important. The numeral system was adopted from Arabs. What is numeral system? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it was adopted from Arabs. Again, they can give you a statement that it was known to India. Yeah, it was original to concept to India, which is not true. Decimal system, yes, Indians were the first ones to use the decimal system. Numeral system, Arabs, right? Aryabhatta, again, discovery of causes of eclipses, which we have already done. That finishes off that chapter from your end, that second last chapter of mathematical contributions and scientific contributions. Now come to 6th question, last question of the day. हाँ. No, the Indian notational system was adopted by the Arabs. Yes, sorry. But we still cannot say from what the lines in NCERT has been written or saying. It's saying that Indian notational system was adopted by the Arabs. It is not saying that numeral system was the invention of the Indians, is what I want to say. Can we generalize or infer from this statement like this? It is just saying that Indian numeral system was adopted by the Arabs. This is what you have to learn, right? Okay, come to Bodhayan theorem or Bodhayan Sulva Sutra. Again a factual question. It is related to lengths of sides of a right angle triangle, right? It is more associated with Pythagoras theorem, right? That ends your ancient, medieval and culture. Now, last words from my end first. If you have any doubt with respect to sources from this section, does anyone have in the remaining days? I'll just tell you the limited source which you can do, right? One is your Ancient India R.S. Sharma Old NCERT. The chapters which are very, very important are Indus Valley, Vedic age, right? Guptas and Mauryas. Introduction to Indian art, part 1. You have to do the whole book, right? Then, if you are to focus more on culture, if CCRT website is too heavy for you, if you have not read it so far, only few sections, that too don't bother yourself, just glance through them almost daily, that's it. The way I've told you that there are certain things which you have to do it that way, like if you were to do martial art or theatre traditions from CCRT website, at the max what you will do, theatre and region, that's it. You need not go into details, right? Similarly, paintings and region or their characteristic feature. Mostly paintings are characterized by either nature or chronicles or dedicated to king, right? Mostly paintings are in the form of nature, right? If certain 3D painting is mentioned, right, you can just make note of it. Uske baad, in medieval Indian history, the most important chapters are your Bhakti Sufi from your new and old NCRT both, and your Mughals. That's it. In whatever days are remaining, right? Okay. And second last thing, don't get that anxiety before the examination, because it will not pay you anything. Questions are simple enough, right? But if you think that it is too difficult for you to revise, there are again many aspirants coming to us and saying that we are reading and nothing is going in our head, right? This happens? Nothing is going? It is...
That happens because even if you read, actually what happens is that you are reading, but when the question is coming, that specific things doesn't come up.
Because you don't know what to read. You're just reading it blindly. See, there is a focus specifically required in this section. The nature of this section is too factual, as you have seen the questions also. It does not have any concept, unlike few topics like Buddhism, Jainism, that too you have to memorize that, what do they say, right? Philosophy, that also you have to memorize. So till the time the framework is not clear that how you have to study, or what you have to study, nothing will go, and everything would go to your that memory which is a dustbin, right? Nothing would come out from there which you cannot use. So there has to be, again, why we conducted this session, to give you an orientation that what you have to study. So when you are picking up your ancient Indian history, you have to do your Indus Valley, you have to do Rig Vedic, you have to do Guptas, you have to do Mauryas, everything. Their administration, their economic life, social life, right, and the terms which are there. Similarly, if you were to pick your medieval, then it has to be your Bhakti Sufi, all types of questions, as I showed it to you, chronology, contemporaries, your terms, and your philosophy, their works, literature. If you would study in a targeted manner or a focused manner in this section, then only it would give you result. Input-output ratio at least be equal. If not equal, at least be marginally equal. Otherwise, again, if you end up reading CCRT website from A to Z, nothing would go. How to do your classical dances, everything you can do from your thicker one's spectrum. But you don't have to do that. There has to be a structure in what you have to study. Theme, textual reference, importance given to mudras, importance given to footwork, whether it was Aharya based, whether it was Tandava or Lasya. If there is a structure, then only you will be able to memorize it. Otherwise, everything you would feel that it is important. Okay? Anything else? Any doubt? See, again, don't think that they cannot ask questions. As I told you, there have been around 8 to 10 questions in the past 5 years at least from this section. And if 2014 pattern is repeated, I don't want to scare you. It's just a realistic assumption that this can also happen, right? Because it has happened in 2014. So at least do the basic things. Buddhism, Jainism kar lo, do Bhakti Sufi, do your Indus Valley, do your Rig Veda till Gupta, right? Things would be sorted enough. That's it. Link your current affairs the way I have shown you. If you are to revise your current affairs, and go to the websites if information is not there in your material or any notes which you are going through. Go to the website and see any martial art form being recognized or given importance, right? Any GI tag being given. Do those things and your culture, ancient medieval would be done and sorted, right? Anyone else who's still scared of AMC? I know there will be, but it's say minimal. How much can I tell you? Matlab, it's bare minimum which is required from you, right? That's it. तो इसीलिए तो स्ट्रक्चर कर कर बताया. Why did I do that? So that it gives you a proper way of understanding things, right? Why did I focus more on the slides and information which you will be falling short on compiling in the last days, right? Remaining days. Why did I do that? Because I know that you all do not have any interest, to be very frank, right? So you all have those kind of fears, but trust me, wherever you get those options and that logic and confidence is working in favor of you, mark those options. Right? Go to the options and see. Use your brain. Use very minimal knowledge and understanding of what you have gone through. And questions are not that difficult. They are factual, I agree, but not difficult as such. Except Buddhism, Jainism. That too I have told you the source and again compiled it in from A.L. Basham. Everything is sorted in your slides now. You need not even refer A.L. Basham for Buddhism, Jainism now. Right? So you can just use that information to your advantage and just do it. Right? Right? All the best. Stay calm and do your best. Everything would be fine. It's not difficult at all. Right? Okay. Actually, you'll appear in 2019. Okay.